Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the world famous, fabulous Lock and Load show, broadcasting across the interwebs on gun channels and across the universe.
Even into alien land.
That's true.
So let's see. This is going to be the end of Google Hangouts. It stops at the end of the month, and everybody is all in a Twitter trying to figure out what platform to jump to, whether it's going to be StreamYard or Discord or Twitch or God knows what, or somehow you can pay some money and Google's going to let us talk to our friends anymore. Because apparently talking to our friends is revolutionary or something. I don't understand.
I guess so.
We just hang out here, so I guess they don't want us hanging out because maybe
they just want to make money off of us.
I thought that's what they were doing.
No, this is free. Supposedly, now it's really going to pay. Now you really got to pay.
They aren't making enough money, is what the is.
Yeah,
but there's never enough money. That's I guess to pull a line from steal something from somebody else's show. Whatever Google's problem is, let me see if I can do a screen share and try and explain this and break this down to you in something terms that everybody can understand, and sneak in cryptocurrencies into this mess. So here's the coin market cap of all the different 2,365 cryptocurrencies that are being tracked, and which are a little down today. But the point is if you look at the market cap of them all, they all total 281 billion, 121 million, 234,599 US dollars. That's the total market cap of all cryptocurrencies in the known world, right? Now, Apple Computer is worth $1 trillion. So this is like 25% of all cryptocurrencies are worth 25% of Apple Computer. So I don't know if how much Google thinks is enough, or how much Facebook thinks is enough, but it's just a little crazy. Let's see. What was this interesting headline? Crypto companies flee the U.S. as regulatory crackdown looms. I watched the Libra hearings, and at the end of the Facebook Libra hearings at the House Finance Committee, led by Maxine Waters, somebody said, one of the Congress people said, said Bitcoin can't be killed, and they want to kill it. They just can't. So take that for what it's worth, and we'll move on to like important things like Area 51. Okay, Patrick, you're our expert on Area 51.
Storm Area 51. Let's do it. Come on, guys. Rally.
I'm just an aviation buff. I'm not much of an alien expert other than Star Trek.
All right, I got my ice. I think ice is a good thing because I can pour whiskey on it. So we got a new bottle of Tullamore Dew. Crack that open and really kick this jet off. Yeepers. This green thing just twists. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's why it's called the cap. Figured it out.
So I think I'm not sure what to think with Area 51. I think everybody's just going to get out there, and it's just going to end up being one big party there in Rachel. So that's what I'm thinking.
I think you'll have some folks that'll try and venture out in the desert, and either the heat will kill them, they'll get lost, or some people may make it and they'll get arrested. Maybe there's a guy with an ultralight that's, like from the A-Team, and Murdoch flew and just died. I don't know.
An ultralight going to sneak onto an Air Force base? Well, that ought to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
I produced. I was hired to work on a B movie that had something like that. And they wanted me to say a line, and I was just saving their audio. It was called Rampage. It was a film called Rampage that probably was released in South America somewhere. But and so basically they're flying an ultralight, and somebody takes a shot at them, and it's and it's like smoking and whatever. And so it basically one guy hijacks a pilot in an ultralight. So it's like two guys, and one of them has a gun, and so I have to come up with a line for the pilot. So the line of dialogue that was recorded from the actor was "Put this thing on the ground," and so my line as the pilot is what I said was, "That's where we're fucking going."
Nice. That was your only line in that movie?
Yeah, and the director said, "That's perfect." Like, okay.
I gotta find that movie now.
You'll never
You
find
get
it. Was a B
royalties off of
movie.
it?
No,
It's only on Betamax.
It's probably not
Yeah.
even on Betamax. I remember what I remember about it is, remember that redhead I told you was always showing up at my studio at like midnight or whatever. Well, what I took her as kind of a date to the premiere at the Academy Screening Theater on Wilshire Boulevard, because that's where he went to screen his film, so he could sell it to the basically distributors that distribute films in Central and South America.
Wow.
So and basically, so I'm at the screening theater before the screening, and with this girl, and so the producer comes up to me, and I had saved the audio on his film and his dialogue, and he's like, thank you for saving my film, thank you. And my girlfriend was like, I thought you just ran a recording studio or something. Anyway, after she saw the film, it was so bad. I mean, the audio was saved, but it was so bad. She was like, yeah. So we were sitting outside and just looking at the stars or whatever, and she said that wasn't a very good movie, and I said, well, he spent $5 million to make it. She was like,
oh my God.
He spent. She said her exact words. It wasn't even a B movie. Like, he spent $5 million on that, and I said, shh. He made it back when he sold the rights to to distribute it in South and Central. It's the kind of thing. There's a lot of shooting, and they have in movie theaters in Central and South America. They don't always show first-run American movies, so there's a market for that kind of thing, and there's an overseas market for that.
So what year was that movie filmed?
Rampage.
Or when did it come out? Because we're trying to look it up.
Rampage.
Rampage.
Yeah, that was 90 in the 90s.
Okay.
I mean,
Movie made after the old video game.
well, it was just Bass Guy saved the audio in his film because it was just somebody had recorded it with and digital, just recorded it too hot on the digital recorder, and just there was digital distortion everywhere, and I just ran it through some my tube limiter which happened to have a vacuum tube in it, and the tube that was in there originally that it came with was well, every tube sounds different, and this one, it kind of was acting as a low pass filter, so it filtered out all the high frequencies where all the digital distortion was at. And his original track was unusable, and nobody in all the most expensive digital studios in LA could save his audio track except me. And I think they sent him to me because they just wanted to get him out of their hair. And he had this film that he spent $5 million on, and the audio track was like just wasted. So I kind of warmed it up and revitalized it for him, and saved his $5 million film. So naturally, he was very happy, and so because he could get his money back. Well, with us, that's here we go back into the days of the film world. Nobody wants to hear about that shit. That's like that and 10 cents. That and like $1.50 you'll buy me a cup of coffee at like Danny's or something maybe, but not at Starbucks. So I wanted to talk about some stuff that I saw. Some of the well, the first topic I really wanted to bring up was if the shit hits the fan, how are you going to set your priorities and what are they going to be? So Oklahoma, you go first.
All right, so SHTF is hit, and what are my priorities? Well, of course, my priorities would be. I think it would vary from person to person depending on your region and how far away you are from.
Yeah, but let's talk about
major
you.
City.
Let's talk about you.
So-
what are your priorities, and how do you figure out what they are? How do you set what
My
your
priorities. My first priority, because I'm a fat guy, I got to have air conditioning.
No, I thought you were going to
so-
say beer.
Well, I mean, that's a given. That's a given.
Okay.
But I got to have air conditioning. So I've got probably, let's say, 2-3 days of electricity before the grids go down, or if it's not a grid down situation, I've got to do a lot of work to build a geothermal air conditioning system. I've got a garden going. Meat is literally right outside my door because I can just step outside the door and go hunting. I've got a water source less than a mile away from the house.
Okay, but
distill.
so far you've said your priority is air conditioning, so you need electricity. And if there's no electricity, I mean, how are you going to generate power to run it?
I've got some small solar panels, and I can get. I've got a small fan that I can run. Basically, my theory or my idea, and a lot of people actually do this as far as the geothermal air conditioning, is basically run ductwork underground and have that air be blown or forced through that ductwork.
I've seen that.
Yeah,
I've seen that done on some video shows, reality stuff.
a lot of people do that in the desert, and it works. So something like that would be for me.
It sounds like it'd be easier to set that up when the grid was up than waiting for the grid to go down.
It really would. But and it's something that I do need to get on, and I do plan on doing it here in the near future.
How hot is it where you live in the summer?
Right now, well, in the summer, it can get up to it's rare, but it does get up into the 120s.
Wow, I didn't know that. Oklahoma was
Yeah.
that hot.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
it can. And average is about the average hot days are about 110, 12, 15, somewhere along in there, which is average for us. Now our winters don't run near as cold. I think we had like 7 days this winter of below freezing temperatures. And it didn't get into the teens, I don't think, very much, if at all. So I'm not really worried about heating. I've got my wood stove, I've got wood, I've got chainsaws, and I've got axes. If my chainsaws, if something happens and I can't use my chainsaws, I run out of fuel or something. So I'm not really hurting for anything like that. But then again, the geothermal air conditioning will be pumping in 50-degree air into into
How
my
many
house.
days would that take? You think that would take you to set up?
Oh man, take me to set up? It would take
Yeah.
me months to set up. It would take me months to set up. I have not Friday morning I got up, went out to our cemetery, mowed it. I hurt my back unloading one of the mowers. And all I did was lower the ramp. So I have not done anything in the last 3 days.
It sounds
So
like
I
if
have
the
to be
shit hits the
careful with
fan,
stuff
you're
like
going to
that.
be busy. You're going to be busy
I
for like
will.
a year trying to set up your air conditioning.
I know, right? Hey, at least it'll be set up by the time I'm done. But no, in reality, of course, the food and water is pretty much there. It would just have to be a lot more work with food and water, or food and well, basically food. I'd have to end up getting my water to the house, which I do have a well here, which I just need to re-drill, and I can do that with stuff I have here at the house. I mean, I think my priority mainly would be to keep from being too bored without YouTube and PlayStation and stuff like that.
You got a PlayStation?
Yeah.
Dude, mine burnt. Mine, I lost my Nintendo in the fire, and when I was at the, when I was in Malibu in '92 when my place burned down across from Duke's, and it was when I was in the Red Cross shelter, and I mean I know I've told you my my story when I asked if they, when the guy at the church where the Red Cross shelter was said, "You need anything else?" When they issue vouchers, and I said, "Well, I could use a microwave," and he said, "We don't hand out vouchers for microwave." And I said, "How am I supposed to live without a microwave?" But I was too. What I didn't ask for, what I thought at first was, well, gee, I lost my Nintendo machine. Should I ask for a voucher for a Nintendo? And somehow I thought that would be wrong. But anyway. Okay, so air conditioning, and as far as food goes, you think and water, you've got filtration capabilities and stuff?
I've got filtration capabilities. If not, I can distill it, which, filtration capabilities only last for so long. We all know that. Distillation would be my main source of water purification.
Well, you can make up just filtration out of natural materials. You get some sand and
rocks, sand, grass, charcoal. Stuff like that. But I think distillation would be my primary.
That reminds me, because I think it was you who asked me when I don't know if it was on the video or when I did my video on that water filtration countertop device that I have, was you had asked how come they have a activated charcoal filter after the whole distillation, and was that you who asked that? I don't think so. Well, somebody asked that. Oh, well, whoever asked it, the answer was, the correct answer was because distillation doesn't take out man-made chemicals, and activated charcoal will. So if there's some man-made chemical, there's a lot of man-made chemicals that can be vaporized just like the water and then return to a liquid form, and they'll still be in the water. So that's what the activated charcoal filter after on the nozzle and the drip nozzle after the condensation tubes is there for. All right, now that I've got that piece of housekeeping out of the way. All right, so your priorities were building an air conditioning system, which will take you a while, and then just food and water. Okay.
I think my main thing would be to fight off boredom, because doing all the other stuff will take time, and it'll take up my attention.
But you live with your girlfriend though, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing that I'm going to talk about, one of the reality shows I watched, because I watched all the survival reality shows on TV or cable. Some people don't watch any TV or something. It's okay. I mean, I'm not an absolutist, but on Alone, on this last one, one of the guys tapped out because he just missed his family, and he had enough food. He'd done well hunting and stuff and fishing, but it was just he missed his kids because he was used to having his wife and kids around, and he was just sitting there waiting for everybody else to tap out, and he was like, I really don't need the $500,000 I would get from winning this that bad, and I miss my kids. Now, I don't think that would. I think so married people shouldn't even do that show alone, because they're just used to having their family around them. I'm not, so it wouldn't bother me. But it does bother people that are just so. I don't think that might. If you have your girlfriend with you, I don't think you'll be quite as bored. Uh, as I mean, he was just he felt like he was sitting there on an island in the middle of nowhere, watching time go by and wasting it because he didn't need the money that bad, and because he said his job keeps him money wise okay, and it just he didn't want to waste another 7 or 8 months waiting for everybody else to tap out. So so he just I'll go first. I don't have any ego about it, and so I can understand his psychology of it. But yeah, being alone and being bored. I mean, some people can handle that better than others.
Especially in a time like now when we have so much technology at our fingertips that if I get bored, I just play a game or I turn the TV on. Or
if I get bored, I drink whiskey.
There you go.
So I'm fully prepared for that. Like I got plenty of whiskey for the apocalypse, but wow, I just had a shot of this. Have a glass of this Tullamore Dew with ice. Irish whiskey. D.E. Williams is why they call it Dew. Is the name of the distillery. All right. So Squib, you want to go next, or do you want to have Patrick go next?
Oh, I'll defer to Patrick.
Okay, Patrick, how do you set your priorities down there in Texas?
Well, as far as being prepared for the pending zombie apocalypse or anything like that.
Shit hits the fan. Yeah.
Shit hits the fan. My family is not prepared because my wife doesn't think that it's ever going to happen. Is in the terms of food and stuff like that and medicines. We don't have a stockpile of it or a way to filter water. I mean, other than doing it, with like sand or rock and things like that. I do have plenty of water because I live on a peninsula and there's a lake on both sides of me. So
freshwater lake?
Yeah. It's fairly large and one of the largest lakes in the area here in Dallas-Fort Worth. So we've got plenty of water to get.
So you just need water containers.
Yeah, water containers, things like that.
To haul it, yeah. That'll light enough so you can carry them and not too big, so you can't. Yes.
Yep. And just to the east of my house, our housing addition, this is also going. That's where the water is. That's the shortest distance to the water for where I live. There's a ranch with cattle on it and everything. So
they have livestock security, don't they?
No.
No?
The livestock security is the rancher who owns the land driving up on you and shooting you with a rifle if you decided to poach.
That would be all right. So he doesn't have professional agents then. He just does it himself.
But so if it was shit at the family, you always
rustle some cattle.
Yeah, rustle a cattle or two and fish out of the lake or something like that. But as far as ammunition and weapons, we got that pretty much covered. We've got something for each person. Slowly building up the supply of ammo.
So what would your priority be? Like the shit hits the fan happens on Monday. What do you do on Tuesday?
Number one is water. If there's water that's still flowing out of the tap, get it in containers as much as possible, as fast as possible. Because we have a house, so I'm not worried about shelter. Nope. Did you lose me?
No, I'm just listening.
Oh, yeah. Number one would be water. Number two would be medical supplies. And actually, they might actually change hands. One of somebody go run up to the Walmart and go raid the pharmacy at that time. And
One person was going to raid the pharmacy when everybody else in town is raiding the pharmacy.
well, that would be probably me because I think the only one that really knows how to use any of the guns we have. So I'd have to shoot everybody at the pharmacy while I'm getting shot at too.
Well, you don't want to shoot the guy who knows how to find what you need.
I would just be going on every shelf, just knocking it down, putting it into a cart, and running into my Jeep. You know, whatever is here, what's what we got. You know.
Well, it's like you don't want to steal a bunch of bottles that you don't need. You want to get the stuff you need. I mean,
Oh no! If you get a whole bunch of stuff you don't need, you can trade and use that for trade and barter later. So you know.
just not just steal everything. Okay, well, that's one. I hope you get something useful. Okay.
Those would be the two things that would be priority: water and medical.
All right. So I'll ask you, how many or how are you set for water receptacles?
2 bathtubs, 2 spigots on the faucets outside of the house. But as far as containers to put it in, not much.
Ugh.
That's the other downside.
Well, they're pretty. You can get some stuff off the internet, if you want to get.
I know.
Or even at Walmart, they have. Those aren't as good as like some. There's better stuff, but I have a water containers video in my hurricane preps thing. Go ahead.
We have tornadoes here, and my wife seems to think that never a tornado will come in and knock the house over. And when I was a kid living in Oklahoma, we had tornadoes, not far from the house. So we kind of my family kind of grew up going, yeah, we might want to have something, to store stuff in for a week or two in case you get your home destroyed. But she's never in that mindset because she doesn't think it's going to happen. So it's like an ice storm. Why do we need this? Nothing bad's going to happen. Okay. It will one day.
Hopefully nothing bad does happen. That's not the history of the world, though.
I understand. But it's like talking to a brick wall sometimes. It's like in one ear and out the other. It's like, what do you know? You've never been in anything bad. Okay.
Okay. So far, we got air conditioning with Oklahoma and water with Patrick, who needs a few water containers. Your wife isn't going to kill you, if you buy some water containers off the internet and put it in your garage.
Oh, she would be like, why does that? We don't need that. It's taking up space.
She sounds like my mother. Well, can't you just say that's my personal garage space where all the guy stuff is. So that's my space. You have a choice. Either I buy more guns or these water containers. Which is it going to be? And that'll end the argument. Okay. Squib, do you want to defer to Jared or do you want to tell me how you're going to set your priority?
You have to get back to me.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
He's going to defer.
Oh, he's going to. Okay, Jared, welcome to the Lock and Load show. We're going through, I guess, our last end of the world Google Hangout before Google goes away. So the Hangout world goes away on August 1st. So if you're with us, Jared, can you tell us how, if the shit hits the fan on Monday, what are your priorities going to be on Tuesday?
Hopefully my PS90 will show up before then, and I can get it. That's my new. I decided to go for one just to do it up. So.
Okay, so for people who don't know, what is a PS90?
It's the civilian version of the FNP90. Shoots an anemic 5.7. What is it, by 28 millimeter cartridge, and
rifle cartridge or
It's a centerfire cartridge.
center fire cartridge?
It's
Okay.
pretty much a 22 Magnum.
Oh, well, a 22 Magnum will kill a boar.
It's a centerfire version, and yeah, it's a lightweight bullpup that's completely ambidextrous, and you can carry a lot of ammo. And let me tell you, I picked up a brick of 500, and it felt like nothing. Nothing. So, I mean, I'm gonna give that a try to see for like a home defense type. For like a home defense type thing.
You need to shoot 500 rounds in your home defense. It sounds awesome.
Well, no, I mean the point is like ultra lightweight. It's supposed to be a personal defense weapon. It's super anemic, but it's got super light recoil. I'm just gonna test it out. So hopefully I'm taking a pistol and a rifle course this weekend, and I got my AR set up and my red dot Glock set up. But
Oh man, you need to like show us your red dot. You get to turn the camera on and show us the red dot Gen 5 Glock 17.
I'm gonna have to sneak in the room and not wake the lady up. I'll
but-
get
but-
it. Though.
Okay, that'd be cool. But I mean, so your priority is going to be just go for the particular kind of gun you want, and that's it. You don't have any other priorities.
Well, I get like 5 days worth of food for the family. Right now we're almost black on water, so we don't have a lot of water left. It's been extremely hot lately, so I'd say we got about a day's worth of water.
There's been a heat wave along in parts of the America along the East Coast and in certain part, in the center of the country. There's been a big heat wave, I think.
I'd probably be filling the bathtub up with water to drink with before we lose all water. Fill the sink up with water to drink with. Fill every container up we got with water that can be filled up before the water shuts off.
So your first priority was going to be get your favorite gun and then start filling up water receptacles. How are you set up for water receptacles?
We got enough plastic boxes in here to probably get a couple weeks worth of water. If I throw
You're going to put water in a box?
Plastic box, yeah, whatever we got on hand. Like if
I thought you meant a cardboard box.
no, like those plastic containers. I got about 10 of those plastic containers for stacking your junk. I'll fill all those up as fast as I can.
How many liters or gallons is that in each container?
No idea offhand, but it's got to be at least about a week's worth of water for a family of 4. So
Okay.
I hit the water. We got food for about 5 days. Mountain house type stuff. I don't have a way to cook it, but as long as there's still gas pressure in the street, I have a gas stove. I have matches I can light the gas stove with for now. The turbojet thing's been on my list for a while, but I haven't got it. So we gotta have some food, some water. If we gotta eat it cold and soggy, you gotta eat it cold and soggy. Obviously, I'm geeking out over a gun, and I have lots of coffee chew. I have like cowboy coffee chew, which is terrible, but that's what I got for some sort of coffee on hand. I'm sure Squib has lots of coffee himself on hand.
I think I'd like raid the nearest Walmart for coffee, or any place that had coffee. I'd raid for coffee.
I have a question about that coffee chew. Does that stuff work? I mean, I hate coffee, but I was just curious about it because I've seen it in military supply stores.
My favorite thing ever, the closest thing, is this mint stuff that they stopped selling on Amazon. It literally was like I was actually using chew. But the coffee stuff, it works, but it's not pretty. It's just like, I don't know, when you get like a good pinch in your mouth, you can spit it out, it comes out easy. But when the coffee, I don't know, like it goes everywhere, it gets all over the place, and now it's like you just poured the coffee filter worth of coffee grinds in your mouth. So
Well, the ones that I've seen were in pouches. Or the stuff you have not in pouches?
yeah, the stuff I have isn't in powder. I've used those, and those are not good. You need to drink. From my experience, you need to put water in your mouth to keep that pouch good, and it runs out quickly. Where the Cowboy Coffee Chew that's loose works a lot better for longer,
Hmm.
but it looks like it has more sugar in it to keep it together.
I've never even heard of these things that you're talking about. I mean, and when I needed coffee to stay awake to meet duplication deadlines and stuff, I mean, I was espresso shots and uptime tablets for caffeine.
It's like dip, but coffee.
Coffee dip.
Yeah, pretty much.
Let me put my let me grab the Glock, and I'll grab I'll come back and I'll turn the camera on.
Oh, okay, cool. We get some mandatory
Are they still?
the money shot for the Gun Channel show. Need a gun. My camera don't work, or at least it doesn't work with Microsoft Windows anymore. I have to go buy a new camera. Been on my to-do list for a while, but today I was busy buying whiskey. So first things first. All right, so I'm going to put the screen on Rupan because he's going to.
So I've got. Let's see, Patrick, you're not too far from me, from what I understand, and Rupan's busy right now. But do you do any hunting?
I haven't done it since I was a kid with my dad, but
okay.
my father-in-law does. My dad does. My dad has. And the only problem is in Texas is to go hunting, you've got to have a deer lease, or you got to know somebody with land because there's no public land to look at.
You're starting to come in really low there, Patrick. And
there's how about is it any better?
I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, really, I haven't done much because here in Texas, there's not a whole lot of public land. There's basically
Yeah.
none. And you gotta know somebody or have a deer lease, and it's very expensive to go hunting. So I haven't done it since I was a kid with my dad.
I understand. Well, for us, I'm about an hour and a half away from you. I'm about an hour and a half north of you, and we start October 1st to January 15th. So I'm trying to, up until I hurt my back Friday, I've been trying to build myself a little deer blind. But I was just wondering if anybody had any crossbows, if anybody that's listening had crossbows, or what their experience with archery crossbow hunting was. I think Texas just legalized crossbow hunting for anybody.
I had just sent.
I haven't. I have never used a bow and arrow for hunting. Last time I used a bow and arrow when I was in Boy Scouts, actually. So.
Oh.
But I mean,
got you.
it is popular down here. People do bow season all the time. I mean,
Well, in Oklahoma, bow season archery is actually from October 1st to January 15th, 3.5 months.
yeah,
And rifle season here is only 2 weeks.
yeah, it's like
So-
it is.
So
Since you
it's-
brought it up, I just needed to say that I had sent Dusty and Squib a Welcome to Transylvania excerpt from the excerpt where they have where Hugh Jackman from the movie Van Helsing has the automatic crossbow. That would be awesome.
That's
to have.
crazy.
Yeah, that is
The
cool.
automatic crossbow that you can't hit the broadside of a barn with.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when he switched it to full auto.
He's got his red
Red
dot up.
All right,
That's
so
nice.
here's the money shot for gun channels, right? So that's what kind of red dot is that?
It is the cheapo Hollow Sun 507C. It has a solar panel on it, so if the battery dies, you can still.
Nice.
But it doesn't look parallax free at all, from at least through the internet.
It's supposed to be, but it doesn't look like it. Yes. So what's cool about this is I do have the co-witness, but on the other hand, you're not focusing on the front sight when you shoot. You're focusing on your target, and you're putting either the circle or you can turn it into just a dot if you want, you're focusing on putting that on the target, not the front sight.
So what parallax free means is that you're supposed to be able to look, like if you moved the camera and kept the gun straight and you move the camera around behind the optic, the dot is supposed to stay in the same place if it's parallax free, right? So, so I don't know. You're moving the gun and not the camera, so it's hard to tell, right?
Yeah, I definitely suspect that it's not 100% parallax free though.
See, that's what when I first got like the cheap optic that everybody gets, that the red dot. So that's the Glock. What kind of coating is that on there? Is that like the melanite or
PVD or whatever the new Gen 5 comes with? So it's got the dual slide release.
Is the front post a red dot? I mean a red. It's red. No, it's white. Okay.
No, these are night sights, suppressor height night sights. I wanted to try to get a good co-witness, but what I found out later was you could get a better co-witness if you got the RMR cut in the slide itself, because I'm using an adapter plate that comes with the Glock. But what I was wondering is if I could get someone to actually cut it so I can bring it down, 3 millimeters or something, come down just a little bit more so it'd be a little bit better. But it's really not, you really don't even need, it's just weird. I'm not used to shooting a pistol like this, but when you are shooting it, yeah.
Is it would it void the warranty to mount that the way you're talking? Because that's what a lot of people are having problems with. A lot of people don't want to cut into the slide because it'll void the warranty.
Yeah, it'll
and
probably.
I like Glock's warranty. Yeah. Okay.
So, but I mean, the trigger isn't that great. I thought it was great, but I was corrected when I went to Sig Sauer. The Sig 320 trigger is or way better than the Glock Gen 5 trigger. But
but it's not a Glock. I mean, I went through that whole thing with triggers. I mean, a trigger isn't a gun. I mean, you can have a great gun with a great trigger, but that's not all there is to a gun. So when you make a decision on what to get, but of course you can get all of the above. Then you can get a PPX, a PPQ, and deal with all the. I mean, the good thing about a Glock 17 is that it's. I don't want to go into full Glock mode, but it's just that it's an established platform, and it's fully developed.
Yeah, and what's great about this is when you're taking marksmanship courses, it's like cheating because you don't have to do everything you have to do when it comes to focusing on the front sight, focusing on the target for a second, back in the front sight. You don't have to do any of that with this, so you're cheating. It's effectively skipping a bunch of fundamentals of marksmanship things. You're just going straight, just like a red dot on a rifle. You're putting the dot on the target.
Until I got the MSE that was parallax free. When I got the first one, it wasn't parallax free. I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. But when I got one that actually was parallax free, then I could hit everything I aimed at, and it was just like night and day. So,
yeah, well, that's weird. I mean, maybe you just had a really bad red dot because I've had some crap red dots, and I can ring steel at 185 yards all day long with a $30 red dot. Free, and I can't even see the red dot. I have an astigmatism, so But it's just with practice. It has the front slide serrations, and I don't know how I feel about those. They make you feel tactical, but on the other end, you're sticking your hand near the front of the gun all the time, especially when you get this big honking thing on the rear that you can easily.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're using the optic, if nothing else, as a slide grip.
Correct.
It doesn't alter the aim at all. It doesn't alter the sight with it's. How do you have it on there mounted again? You said you've got it on a plate.
Yeah, can you see how there's an adapter plate between the slide and the optic itself?
Oh, I see it now. Move it to the right. right or the left a little bit. Okay, I see it now. Yeah,
It's like a couple millimeters thick.
I got you.
Yep.
I see it. There you go.
So
Oh, that's
it
pretty
comes
neat.
it comes with a bunch of different ones, so you can mount pretty much whatever you want. Now, there's much better red dots than the Hollow Sun. There's the RMRs. There's some other ones. I like Hollow Sun. It's not the greatest company. Again, I have an astigmatism. I can't really see red dots that well. So,
Why did you buy a?
and you laugh at it, but I was grouping at 25 yards with this after 4 hours. So, I mean, you can laugh at it. What it was I was watching a video and I was
I never laugh at anybody who could shoot a pistol better than me. So I never laugh at anybody.
But I mean, I watched a lot of different series where this guy named Russell Fagan does competition, and he'll do a round with no red dots, and then he'll with a rifle and a pistol, iron sights, and then he'll be in the open class. He'll be wearing rifle plates, rifle armor, sometimes carrying his ammo, and he'll have a red dot Glock, and he'll have a red dot on his like AR-15 or something. And he is so, after watching like 6 or 7 matches of him doing that, is insanely faster with red dots, with acquiring the sight, making the shot, and then making follow-up shots. He's just so much faster that I was looking for a reason to buy this, and I asked in like the chat, is it really? I have an astigmatism. Would there be a plus for me doing this? And pretty much somebody chimed in and was like, "Just do it." And I was like, "That's all I need to hear."
Somebody.
Just do it.
The guy said he had an astigmatism too, and he'd been running a red dot on his pistol for a while, and he said, "Go for it. Try it out. It works for him. Even though the dot is kind of fuzzy, it is faster." For some reason, in daylight, when I look through this, it does not appear to be jacked up. But in low light situations, it's like I have full blown astigmatism. But in big lots of daylight, it does not
That's weird.
affect this one. Now that's not on any other of my red dots. If I could look in bright ass daylight, and they're all fuzzy and crazy, but for some reason this one just works different. So whatever it is, it's fun. I'm taking it to. I used it at one course. I'm going to use it at another course. Coming up on the 27th, I'm going to do it's a retired ATF guy who does Leosa quals. He's got a pistol course and a rifle carbine course on the same day. So 4 hours pistol, 4 hours rifle. So I'll be doing that, and I'll be taking this guy with me.
Cool. How much did the Glock 5 run you without the optic?
Oh, shoot.
Glock Gen 5.
I
Glock
don't know.
17 Gen 5. You don't remember how much you paid?
No. I have too many Glocks. I can't remember. I plead the fifth.
Never enough. You plead the fifth on a Gen 5 Glock. Okay.
I don't remember how many I bought. I don't know. I'm not telling. Leave me alone. Get out of my house.
What we do is secret. Coffee
Oh,
chew.
there it is. Cowboy coffee chew.
And then you can't buy that off the internet anymore. Okay.
No, you can. You can't buy the mint stuff.
Oh.
So it's sticky and delicious.
Is it like is it like tobacco chew, or is it?
It's kind of like tobacco chew. It's kind of like shoving. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say it's not good, but
You're roboting.
nicotine off of it. You're getting caffeine, energy. Sorry, I'm on the highway. Can you hear me
You're
now?
roboting. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
It's like dip, but instead of getting the nicotine out of it, you're getting the caffeine.
Okay. So
Correct.
if you were on extended guard duty or something, it would keep you awake.
It doesn't give you the same buzz. Like I had this mint. I should have kept the container. It was called mint, and there was like mint leaves in a pouch, and it was the closest thing to like chewing tobacco I've ever had. Great, but it disappeared off Amazon, and I was upset about that. But this stuff, it's okay. It's not bad. I mean, I would rather drink regular coffee because for some reason, like when I go to spit it out, if it kind of like dances around my mouth, then you end up like feels like you just shoved the coffee filter in your mouth. It feels weird. You're
Well,
like,
you know what I'd like to get the patent on is some kind of whiskey chew. That would be fucking awesome.
I'd be down for that.
Actually, people put about
You're roboting.
two
You're
drops,
roboting. You're roboting.
whiskey.
Major butt alert there. Anyway, thanks for the money shot with the spot.
Oh yeah, did I tell you it's got like a? So I have a Gen 4, and it looks very similar, but it's got like the front of the slide is beveled. It's got some.
You got a Gen 4 with a bevel?
No,
I
I'm
mean, I
saying
have a Gen.
the Gen 5 has got like a beveled front end on the slide here,
Yeah, I've seen them.
and it's got like a magwell. It's got like a
Yeah, the flared.
flared magwell, and I had mentioned it has the slide
Is it-
release on the other side, so that
You
has
think
a-
that flared magwell really makes a difference in just popping in a new mag or not?
I'd say yes, but if you've practiced a lot with other Glocks, you could be in trouble. I've seen videos where a guy who's spent hours and hours and hours and hours has trouble with the Gen 5 because of the way the magwell is designed.
It's just
Now,
flared, right? That's the only
It's
difference.
flared, but if you, it sounds silly, but I've seen a video where a guy was having trouble loading it in. I know it sounds silly, but for me, it works fine. I honestly probably haven't noticed it. I've never had a 17 before this, and I never had a 19 before this, so I can't answer that question. But I have not noticed it at all. And doing drills, I did an MPCT qualification. I didn't notice that it really made a difference.
The Gen 5 Glock 17 I saw at the local gun shop just had a red dot on the front post, and I liked that instead of compared to the white one. But since you got a red dot optic, that would be like confusing to have two red dots.
Yeah, you're talking about now. If you had regular sights on here, you wouldn't even be able to see the regular sights probably over the thing. But so it would have to be a suppressor sight. But you're talking about like an XS big dot is what you're talking about, right?
It's the red dot that is just a standard factory thing. The one that the Glock puts on the Gen 5s, it was red, and I thought it was really a lot better than white.
My three Gen 5s did not come with a red front post.
Yeah, I think they're fiber. I think it was fiber optic.
Oh, I mean, it might be an option, but I kind of like the factory sights that came on this one. They were a little different than the other Glocks. It was it wasn't the usual box. It was like I think it was more like a U. I got them in a Ziploc baggie around here somewhere, but either way, I threw on the suppressor heights so I could be a super cool guy, and I just look like a dummy.
But nobody will ever call you that while you're carrying a Glock. So
Hey, the guys at my range don't like me, so who knows? I was shooting. I picked up I had to borrow some money from a buddy. A gun shop owner offered me a FAL and a ACR for $1,500. So, pretty much. And then when I got there, he said, "If you have another $900, I'll give you this SOCOM 16 as well." I was like,
I need money. I need money.
So I could not. I had a buddy let me borrow the 15, but I could not borrow any more than that. He offered to let me borrow it.
He couldn't take a credit card?
No, he needed cash right now.
Oh.
He had an Ishapore. I had never seen an Ishapore that nice in my life. With an Ishapore Enfield in 308.
Well, you couldn't have gone to an ATM and gotten cash off your credit card somehow.
No, I spent all the money on the PS90.
Oh man.
You know,
You obviously need a higher credit card for emergency gun purchases. Higher
Exactly.
credit card limit.
Who doesn't need
Yes.
exactly? Who doesn't need an emergency gun fund?
Well, I mean, the government needs one. They just raised the debt ceiling again. So if Pelosi and Trump and Schumer and
Dear.
the idiot that runs the Senate can all come to an agreement to increase the debt ceiling even more to spend money that we don't have on shit that we don't need, or maybe we need it, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, I went to the range with the ACR and the FAL, and I was just kind of like testing them out, see if they worked and stuff. And one of the guys saw me and was giving the eye. It's dangerous guys here again. I don't know. I was having some fun.
Why do they think you're dangerous?
I don't know. Some of the guys don't like me. Some of the guys are really cool though, but I swear some of the guys just don't like me. I don't know why. Whatever. But
that's the thing that I do like. The one thing I like about the range, not having a range officer of any kind, is that everybody's nice to me when I show up with all my guns.
we don't have a range officer either. But
there used to be one, and then something happened to him.
I don't know. But either way, I've been having some fun lately. Yeah, I'll probably have to. I really didn't want an ACR, but I mean, the guy gave me the FAL for free. I mean, which I always heard FALs were junk. That rifle feels great. When you pull it up, it doesn't have a lot of recoil. It balances great in the hand. It just comes right up, and very, very pleased with that. So,
have you? You were supposed to go to the range like last week with some new gun. I'm trying to remember. Wait, your Mac 11.
I did, yeah. I don't have video. I should get some, or maybe I do have some video. I can't remember, but it slaps your finger forward when it recocks the trigger, just because it's a semi-auto. I mean, it's not a conversion; it's a factory-built gun. But when what's a good way to put it? The way the trigger and the hammer fire conversion is designed, it pushes your finger forward, and it's a blowback, so it's kind of a crapshoot. But I have a lot of videos I need to do, and I've been lazy.
I get what you're saying. That when the slide, or when the everything resets, it pops the trigger forward.
Yeah.
Rather than with lock.
You're roboting.
Yeah, so if you look in the star trigger group, if I push this, is it like that, or how does it go? So it's got this guy right here, and then this is the sear right here, this bridge, and then it's got this little piece right here, which is called the disconnector? I forget offhand. So the way the hammer fired, this is the hammer right here. The way the design is on the Mac, this is kind of like one piece, and this is connected to the trigger. So when it comes back, it pushes like that, and when it pushes, that kicks your finger forward like a trigger slap almost. So this is an AUG trigger group, but so and it's kind of uncomfortable. It's blowback, so if you don't have the fake suppressor on it, there's a lot of like, I don't know if you want to call it flip. Maybe it's not really recoil, but like a lot of moving mass. But it's fun to shoot, and that's the whole thing about it. It's your Green Berets running around John Wayne or something.
Oh wait, I forgot to play my John Wayne sound. All right, there. Had to get that in the show at some point.
There you go.
But that wasn't from Green Beret. That was from Santa Fe,
Oh.
Kojima. So
So, yeah, I got a lot of videos
I,
to do. Just been lazy.
Inter-
Oklahoma, are you moving? Because you're
I
still
interviewed. Can y'all
roboting.
hear me?
Yep.
Now we can. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on the highway. I've interviewed for a law enforcement job today. So, and they have a list of only like 5 groups of firearms that you are allowed to use. So, and Glock, SIG, Springfield, and Smith & Wesson.
You aren't going to be the only law enforcement officer with a crossbow.
Yeah. Hey, I'll take it.
Nice.
But, so
Doing
I'm
traffic stuff.
definitely looking. I'm definitely looking at gonna get a Glock.
That would, I mean, it would be so cool to see a law enforcement officer just do a traffic stop with a crossbow.
Yeah, a crossbow is, instead of an AR, it'd be a crossbow.
Well, instead of anything, I mean, but yeah, well, I love my Glock 17. I mean, I've just got a Gen 4. It does what it's supposed to do. It always goes bang, and there's plenty of spare parts for cheap. So, and there's
I like-
plenty of accessories for cheap.
They
Now,
told me that
Yeah.
when they told me that they had a list of approved firearms, I made sure to ask them if a High Point was anywhere near that list. They all busted out laughing.
Yeet cannon. Yeet. So, I mean, you
That
can't
thing-
go wrong with. Yeah. How are you without having a safety? Are you okay with not having a safety for an open carry duty gun?
I've worked in law enforcement. Safety get people killed. You
Which-
forget to flip it off.
I agree. I know 2 people who shot themselves with guns that had safeties. Now, I'm not saying that people haven't shot themselves with Glocks, but both guys were military trained. So one guy was Army, one guy was Marine Corps.
Well,
So,
you know, I don't personally have a problem with them, but I don't trust myself in a situation where you need to draw and quick do a quick draw and fire. You know, there's a lot going on. Not only are you having to think about, you know, the muscle memory is there. You better hope the muscle memory is there to for your thumb to push that safety off when you're going to shoot. Because if you slip or if you don't get that safety off and
Oh,
they get a
can't
shot
hear
in before you do, that. What about now? Still nothing.
I hear you.
Okay, his screen's froze. I think his screen's froze.
I can't hear you anymore, Oklahoma.
Okay.
Is it me?
Yeah, I think it's you on that one. Go ahead, Oklahoma.
Hello? Oh,
Give
But if-
Jared a minute just so maybe his internet can calm down for a second.
I apologize. I'm all set now.
Okay, go Oklahoma.
Okay. All right. No. What I was saying is, if you're in a situation where you're in a quick draw with somebody, and it's either you or them, you know, one little slip of the finger and you can't get that safety off as you're pulling your firearm up out of your holster and go to squeeze the trigger and there's nothing there. And that little mistake is what would get somebody killed. And there's plenty of body cam and dash cam video of people. Fortunately for the police officer, the people can't, as they draw, they don't flip that safety off and can't fire at the police officer. And that police officer is ultimately the one that wins that gunfight. So that's what I say. That's what I mean when I say safeties can get you killed.
Yeah, I mean, safeties don't make sense to me. They don't make anybody safe. I mean,
And to me, you know, the Glock safety, I don't believe that is a safety at all.
well, if you don't touch the trigger, it don't fire.
Exactly. I mean, exactly. How is that your intent is to pull the trigger, even if something inadvertently gets in there, it's going to go. But I think I would like my personal dream gun would be a Glock with Springfield's grip safety.
I
I
hate
love the
grip
teardown
safeties.
feature.
I hate grip safeties. I have the first gun I bought was a 1911 Government, and I still hate grip safeties. I just hate them.
1911s are different. Springfield's
It was the
The only
Springfield
way-
Colt 1911 Government.
no Springfield. What was the question again?
I don't remember.
I think you said was the Springfield a Colt 1911 Government. I think that's what I heard. I could be wrong.
Go ahead
But,
and finish your point.
But anyways, that's my dream gun. I love the teardown features of Glock and the safety of a Springfield's grip safety.
Forged
from
from
freedom.
freedom. What does the red say? Can you hold up the red a little higher so I can read the red?
It's just a
Forged.
Forged from freedom.
freedom.com.
That's cool.
Okay. What's that
Yeah.
for? Is that
No, I completely agree about safeties. Oklahoma, absolutely. I just don't like having the safety because I used to, for a while, for like a year, I carried a revolver. I think it was like a year, maybe it was a little bit less than a year, and I liked not having safety. So when I switched over to the other guns, I really didn't like having the safety. So I had a double single, and I'd just leave it on. I'd drop the hammer, and then just leave it on double, take the safety off. And the Glock to me is a little better because it's not there. There's nothing. I like fidgeting and playing with stuff, and there's nothing to play with. So I like that. And now that may not be for everybody, but
Yeah, I also like my Ruger LC9S Pro. No safeties. That was the version, and because most Rugers are like their safety out, but they did a police version for a subcompact, and it's awesome. No magazine disconnect, no safety at all. If you don't need to, if you just leave the thing in the holster and until you need it, then you don't have to think about it. I mean. And if you need it, you don't want to have to be fucking with the safety yet. I think it's just something
that's what I'm saying.
It's just something that people who are used to guns get, but like people who make laws and run insurance companies and stuff like that, or political action committees, they don't because they're just not gun people. And safeties don't work for almost the same reason that gun control doesn't work, but gun control is worse than safeties, but not by much.
now if you like
You
a
pretty
single
much-
action, you're good. Yeah, obviously, you need a safety on a single, unless if you carry it the half cock.
Hawaii, you pretty much proved my point. With somebody like me as law enforcement, my gun's going to be in my holster, period. So there's no point in having a safety if your gun's going to be holstered. So I mean,
And
you just
there's no
proved my
reason to
point right there.
take it out of its holster unless you need to use it.
Exactly.
Oh my god, are you serious?
I mean, unless you're making a movie or something, and in which case you have safety officers and they don't, all kinds of blank ammo and stuff. But I mean, for regular everyday life, it's your safety is your brain, man. Use it.
Exactly. I mean, you're going to be pulling your firearm out at some point in your law enforcement career, and if you have to use your firearm, then it might as well. You're going to take the safety off anyway. So, and 90% of the time, your firearm is going to be in your holster. If not in your holster, it's going to be in a gun safe. So there's really no point in having a safety on a gun as far as law enforcement. Now, if you're doing, something where you're not law enforcement and you're going to be, in and out of the vehicle and going in and out of stores or in and out of this, and you're going to be taking your gun in out of the holster quite a bit, then yeah, something like that, yeah. But, and I don't know. I know a lot of people that don't have one in the chamber on duty, and it's just like, what is the point of even carrying one? I mean, it makes no sense. That is something that I completely disagree with, because, like I said, if you're in a quick draw with somebody, that extra second of you having to cock that gun is going to be determine whether or not you survive. Plain and simple.
Well, that's a good thing about revolvers. You never have to.
Exactly.
You just.
They're
Well,
believe it or not, they are the most reliable firearms.
I love my GP 100, man. I mean, it's like a great shit hits the fan gun, and 357 Magnum caliber kicks a lot of ass compared to other rounds. I mean, everybody doesn't always want to carry a 44 Magnum around. I mean, although there's nothing wrong with carrying one around. Worked for Dirty Harry.
A fictional movie character, yes. Just like how James Bond's making shots. There's that scene in one of the James Bond movies where he's chasing after the guy with the face that's messed up, and Daniel Craig's chasing after him, and the guy's climbing up a ladder, and he's like 200 yards away from the guy, and he's got the Walther. He's taking shots at the guy while he's in the ladder, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I mean,
well, in movies you could blow away a Hind helicopter with a 380 round. So
when I'm using the Glock 42, shooting at a target that's like a 12-inch plate at 185 yards, I'm holding like 10 feet high, and I was holding a couple feet to either the right or the left. So when he's making those shots at like 200, he must be aiming like this, like
at the moon.
Yeah.
like those shots.
Yeah, that's archery. That's archery.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Like, I was watching that shot, and I was like, "Come on, man!"
I feel that way sometimes with my AK, because the holdover is 7.62 by 39 has a lot of bullet drop.
Do you have a high mounted optic for like close range? Is that what?
No, my AK is iron. So.
Oh, I mean, with this, when you're at close range, when you're at like 3 yards, you have to hold.
At 3 yards, I don't need an optic or even a front post.
Of course, but like at 3 yards, if you were to use the optic, it shoots at the bottom of the ring at 3 yards.
At 3 yards, an optic makes less sense than a safety. So.
I'm just saying, a lot of people don't take that in when they put an optic on a gun, depending on how high the bore offset is.
Mm.
Like from where the optic is versus the bore of the gun. The closer you get, the further, depending on how high this, especially with AKs, people have optics mounted very high. The closer you are, you're going to, it creates more of a problem where you could hit a no-shoot target, whether that's a person or something you're not supposed to be shooting at.
Yeah, you don't want to blow away the hostage when you're going aiming for the bad guy.
I mean, even just anything, just missing completely, or if you don't know what you're doing, it's a good thing to check. If you have not checked that.
Yeah, well, so Oklahoma, you're going to now be a fire chief, a babysitter, and law enforcement officer all at the same time?
Oh, yeah. Babysitter's just a part-time thing.
So is your sister okay? She had an emergency and you could make last week's show because you were babysitting. So is she okay? Or
yeah, everything's fine now.
Okay, good. How's your fire truck going?
We still got to put it's ready to hold water. It's ready to pump. I've just got of course, you leave me with something on a fire truck, I'm going to tear something up, and I ended up tearing up.
We're losing them
I gotta
again.
get a new hose clamp, and
Yeah,
Can you
I
hear
hear you
me?
now.
Okay. Sorry. I've got to get a new hose clamp. Once that's done, it's ready to hold water and keep water. And then we're going to put the sprayers on the front bumper so that if we need to do one man attack on with a deuce, we can do it. So it's just about ready to go. Oh, and speaking of fire related, one of my old departments got rid of a bunch of stuff and gave us their old boots, and I found my first boots with that department.
Which were?
My fire boots.
Mm-hmm.
I found my first pair of boots that I ever had.
What are they a brand or some kind?
Oh
or-
yeah, they were. There are two pairs actually. The ones that I had in my structure gear, they were Thorogood Hellfighters, and the other ones were Ranger Firewalkers.
Firewalkers and
And,
Hellfighters. Okay.
Yeah,
Wasn't
and I
it-
could not believe it. I looked specifically for them, and I couldn't find them anywhere. And they had just loaded all the boots up in the back of my truck, and I went through them, and sure enough, I saw my name on the side of them. I said, "Hell no!" That was sure enough it.
So you got your old boots
Man.
back?
Yeah, I was happier in the tornado than the trailer park.
Yeah. Didn't John Wayne do a movie about like called Hellfighters about
Hellfighters.
about putting out fires
That
in
actually,
oil wells somewhere?
yes. And believe it or not, the actors are the people. And it was based on true stories. That was based on a true story. The people that John Wayne and another guy portrayed, Boots and Coots, they were brothers. They are from this town that I'm in now. We came out to get dinner. We're in Duncan, Oklahoma, the home of Halliburton Industries, and Boots and Coots. My fire chief actually knows those guys.
Oh,
Or my
man.
old fire chief, the mayor. He actually
Okay,
knows the guys.
You need to make a video of you walking around with your Hellfighters. and if there's some Boots and Coots place in Duncan, if is there some kind of
There actually is.
memorial or statue or
it's no
something?
Oilfield company. No, the corporate office is still here though. It's an old oilfield company. They don't do oilfield fires
Well,
anymore. They
everybody's
pretty much
heard of
make
Halliburton.
oilfield equipment.
Everybody's heard of Halliburton, but
Yeah, Halliburton is based here in Duncan, Oklahoma as well. It's where Earl P. Halliburton started his first.
is there like
first
any Boots and Coots statue or memorial or something there?
No, it's just an old building with that stuff on it. What the heck is that thing? Look at his spotlight.
These,
Are those
Sorry,
squib?
Oklahoma. These,
yo,
can you see your
Thurgood
phone?
Hellfighters.
Mhm.
Those are Thurgood Hellfighters. Yeah,
Great minds think alike.
my man. Yeah, mine have the black liner and they're older.
What? So, Squib, why'd you get your hands on those boots?
Hang on a second, Jordan.
I put out my fair share of fires.
Okay.
And actually, are my Rangers in here still? My boots? Yes or no? Actually, I think they're still in the car, and I found my old Wildland helmet. I'm going to cover up my name. Yeah, these are Ranger Firemasters. My bad, not Firewalkers. Let me
Okay.
turn on the camera.
Yep.
Oh, my back's hurting. All right. Where am I at? Oh, God, that's horrible. Ugh. I hate when that happens.
Okay.
These are my Ranger Firewalkers. Oh, man, that hurts.
They've
Now,
got
are
you
those
presented.
taller? Are those taller than the Hellfires?
Are they taller? Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
No, they're about the same size. They're just a lot weaker, I guess you could say, or thinner.
Can you turn your camera back on for 1 second? Because I wasn't presenting the whole time. I was dealing with the internet. Okay, now it's frozen. Trying to see the boots. What the boots? Oh, there it is. Okay, thank you. And those are what kind? Fire. I'm trying to read it. Firemaster, Steel Midsole, Ranger. So Firemasters, Steel Midsole. Okay, they're called Firemasters, not Firewalkers. Okay.
They have different safety ratings. They've got a like the Thorogoods. They've got a their safety toe. They have an electroshock rating. They have a biohazard rating. They've got to really engineer them to handle a lot of different environments.
And so what are they made out of, basically?
Unobtainium.
Unobtainium? Okay.
I don't know what they're made out of. They're just comfortable.
And they're fire resistant, I take it.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
They're rubber boots, steel toes, steel shank with a felt liner in them, and they are the older ones. The newer ones are leather with composite toe and composite shank. But
So are they resistant to heat or chemicals or anything?
heat,
yeah,
chemicals,
chemicals, yeah, blood, shock.
But guys, I'm gonna get off here.
Building.
Okay, thanks for coming on, Oklahoma. I'm glad to hear everything's okay, and I hope. When are you going to hear about your application for law enforcement?
They said it'd probably be a week, but I'll find out in about 3 days when Jordan goes back to work and tells me whether or not I'm on the list.
Okay.
But
All right. Well, we're going to be this show will be, well, if we figure out how to do the StreamYard thing next week, we'll be chock full of law enforcement people. So
there you go.
I won't have to have them just monitoring me from local law enforcement. I'll actually have one of them on my show. That'll be awesome. So thanks for coming on again.
Guys. Not a problem, guys. Y'all stay safe. I hope to talk to y'all again soon. We'll figure something out, and I'll get on the ball. If you want to remind me tomorrow, text me and remind me to look up, try to find out how I can.
Well, I'll text you to remind you that tomorrow's Tuesday because I know how you are about days.
There you go. All right, guys. Y'all have a good night.
Later,
Yep,
Oklahoma.
aloha.
All right. Aloha, guys.
Oh, hey, did you talk about the people mad in Hawaii about the government's taking prior public land that
Prior
native
public
land?
native.
Something.
The whole
I got a buddy.
The whole island is basically the whole. This is all like Hawaiian kingdom, Hawaiian sovereignty, and it's like, and the guy who's leading the protests, I don't know, he's 23 or something. The 1,400 people up there on Mauna Kea. He said he doesn't want to talk to the governor because the governor is a liar. So why would he want to talk to? So the lieutenant governor goes down. Josh Green, the guy whose staff took me off the temple's mailing list because I wouldn't support his political campaign. He literally stole the temple email list, incorporated into his political campaign on Facebook. And so I told, take me off of your Facebook list. I don't want to be your Facebook friend. I don't want to know you, and I definitely not going to support your campaign. So they took me off of their Facebook list, and they took me off of the temple mailing list. It's like, Josh Green is like, and he's a gun grabber. Like, he's a crazy gun grabber, which is why I wouldn't support him in the first place. And he's basically got paid by some corporations who wanted to be able to buy the right to build marijuana pharmacies. So he fronted the legislation that was passed and signed into law so that for like $3 million a year, they can run a corporation can grow marijuana and run a marijuana dispensary legally in the state, because they had already had, like, you could already get a card of a physician, any physician, even visiting physicians who are just trying to pay for their vacations can write anybody a prescription for a medical marijuana ID card, but there wasn't any legal dispensaries where you could buy it legally. So this is like so stupid, the laws in this state. I just want to strangle somebody, starting with Josh Green. And he went up there to talk to him, but the thing is, here we are in the middle of an island on the Pacific, and they want to build the 30-meter telescope here because of the astronomical conditions at the top of the mountain. And there's like 13 or 14 other telescopes up there, and this is a big one, but it's like $1 billion injection into the local economy for an economy that's hurting.
Now,
and nobody goes with the road they're protesting is the access road up to the telescopes. That road wouldn't be there if nobody built any telescopes, and nobody would go up to that mountain if there weren't any telescopes on there, because it would be too hard for them to go, too hard of a hike. Now there's a road and they can actually go up there because there's telescopes there.
Now, some people may not know Hawaii. There's not a lot of light pollution in Hawaii, so it's optimal for seeing the stars. But what I wanted to say is, so I've seen posts. One of the guys I went to basic training, or one station unit training with, he is a white dude, but he was born and raised in Hawaii. So now, even though he's still active duty in like an E6, his Facebook has been full of like, this stuff's illegal. They can't be taking this land. The land was stolen. Now, my thing is, like, I get like I don't want to downplay what he's saying because I don't really know a lot about it. But I mean, I've read like 3 or 4 posts that he posts, some long posts. But what I get out of it is, I get that the state is like, this is our land. We're gonna do what we want with it because it's our land. Because the state, and that all comes back to like an argument I have about, do you actually own your own private property? Try not paying your taxes and see if you actually own your own property.
Yeah, you can actually get there's a specific legal process that nobody ever does to set up some kind of corporation. I forget the right exact legal phrase, but forgive me, it's been a while since I got into this. But yeah, if you can actually take your property that you own, this as far as what common people think they own the property, and you can actually remove yourself from having to pay taxes, but it costs like $1 million or something to set that up. And I forgot what the exact legal terminology is because it's been so long since I studied it, but there's a way to do it. Like I don't know if it was incorporating your property or something, but you can actually move outside the tax system as far as, because if the state goes bankrupt that you're in, then the property owners in the state are on the hook for the debt of the state. And they can, so whoever the state defaults on its debt, whoever owns that debt can come in and just take property.
Now, I mean, my whole point is, these people are, chanting that this was stolen property from Queen. I forget exactly.
Lila Kalani. Yeah.
Lila Kalani. And like, I get what they're saying, but like, they're not realizing that, the state owns that stuff, not them.
Well, I think the University of Hawaii owns it.
Oh, they actually own the land. Oh, okay. So that's a little different. But I mean, you get my point though. Is like, I see the same way some of the politicians respond to it reminds me of the way some of the stuff happens in my state.
Politicians respond to it like Josh Green showed up because he wants to be Governor Green. I mean, I hate to say this on the air, but if he's Governor Green, I'm overthrowing the government. I mean, it's just, and those are the people. It's like, you know, when you look at like Ocasio, Tlaib, and all those, the 4 horsewomen of the apocalypse that Trump said, I'm going to go on a rant here for a minute, but it's like, they're Nazis, okay? They're fucking Nazis. They hate Jews. They hate Israel. It's not that they don't. It's not that they're Democrats. They're fucking Nazis, okay? But the whole fucking Democratic Party now is the Nazi Party, and I'm not exaggerating, okay? So if Josh Green becomes Governor Green, I mean, this state is totally fucked. And it's like, the thing is, the people on that are actually protesting there, the 1,400 people up there, they wouldn't agree with me on anything in the realm of politics or anything. But me and them have this one thing in common. We think the government are a bunch of Nazis. The politicians that are running, they're running it like Nazis. Okay. But I mean, I think we should build a telescope, but the government is acting like a bunch of Nazis. But he's there particularly because he wants to be the governor. So he's pretending that he cares. And Democrats are really good at that.
Steve D said UH pays $1 in rent, and they in turn charge the telescope people $1 in rent. Lots of people are pissed they're not paying more. That money going to the people.
There was an agreement before this whole thing happened that the Supreme Court overturned, the Hawaii Supreme Court overturned. And I actually have that argument on my YouTube channel of the oral argument of the first agreement between the U of H, because they had already reached a decision before there was an official contested hearing, and they had already made an agreement and reached it. And the contested hearing that they held was pointless. So on that basis, the Supreme Court of Hawaii overturned the original agreement. But the original agreement was for the 30 millimeter telescope people to spend a fortune on education, the education system, like just donate, millions and millions and millions of dollars in scholarships and building educational facilities, and not to mention that there are Hawaii astronomers here that who study astronomy at the U of H, and who get to run these telescopes. And the 30 millimeter telescope would be an amazing, like one of the best telescopes on the planet. I mean, you could say the best telescopes are off the planet, like the Hubble, but I don't think that even exists anymore. I don't know. I'm not really. I took astronomy at UCLA, but it was a long time ago. But the point is that the educational and the billions of dollars they're going to spend to build this thing is like a huge bump for the Hawaii economy, which needs a huge bump, especially because this state is broke. And so when they could point out little nitpicking things like they're paying $1 in rent, well, yeah, but they're going to throw $1 billion into the Hawaii economy on the Big Island. That fucking goes a long way, man. That really does. And these people could give a shit about the economy because they've never had a job, most of them. They're just getting government checks all their life. And they have government EBT cards for all their food, and everything flows from the government. So they're used to the government doing everything, especially those people. I mean, the guy that's leading it is 23. What does he know about economics of the Big Island? I mean, the people that it'll help are all on the Big Island. And nobody goes up there nobody would go anywhere near that mountain if there wasn't a bunch of telescopes up there. There's no way to get up there. It's a long uphill hike in the cold off of the road.
Steve said he heard IMO 365 channel. But one funny thing that I've seen recently, so they're developing land in Lynn, Massachusetts. They're developing a space of land that used to be a Chevrolet dealership site. And for a while, there was like a floating house. Some guy like threw a float. But anyways, They're developing this land. It's private land, and I looked up how much they're spending. They're spending $90 million to transform a 14-acre site, which is privately owned. Isn't that nice? Wouldn't you love to pay taxes to a city that's just like, yeah, let's just throw 90, is that just that includes a $1.4 million seawall. So, I mean, this, like, literally, there's like a lot that's just trash. Like, it's just garbage trash, and it's owned by somebody who paid peanuts for it. And because there's like a federal grant, because there's like a right, it's right next to the, it's right on Lynn Harbor, so they got some federal grant for a walkway, so they want to build a wheelchair accessible walkway. And I'm just like I'd be pissed if I was a taxpayer in Lynn. Like, why can't they spend $90 million where I live on my house? Some greasy bastards getting vacant land, that, I don't know. So it happens everywhere, especially in blue states. But
Well, basically, the whole thing about Hawaiian sovereignty is it's kind of used as an excuse for everything. If you get a traffic ticket, if you get ticketed for not wearing a seatbelt, I mean, Hawaiian sovereignty, you don't have any right because you stole this island. I mean, Bill Clinton apologized for stealing the island of Hawaii on behalf of the United States of America when he was president. But they had an election, people voted for it, and they voted for statehood. So, that was mostly Hawaiians who voted for statehood. So
here's a similar argument I hear all the time from some people. I hear that whenever anybody says my family's got some Native American in it here, and my immediate family, and what I hear a lot is that we're immigrants, so we shouldn't be here. And it's like, I kind of like asked, well, where are we gonna go with this? Like, so I'm renting, so I shouldn't be here. I don't even own any land. Like,
well,
where do we go with this? Are we gonna march to the courthouse and take land, or you guys kicking me out of my house? I don't know. I mean,
land reform for the peasants.
I don't even own anything. I don't know what I mean. I mean, obviously, it's a retort. Like, it's like not a retort. It's like a comeback for people who have problem with illegal immigration. The default is that white people don't belong here. So, and it's kind of like,
well, I believe I've been living on the Big Island for like almost 20 years, and unless you're like third or fourth generation, you're not a local.
I'm talking about Massachusetts. I'm not talking about the Big Island.
But that's how locals are. I mean, when I moved to Malibu, or when I went surfing in Malibu, if I didn't live in Malibu, it was like locals only. And one time I fell off my surfboard, and because I wasn't that good of a surfer when I was a kid, and I never got that good at it, but my surfboard almost like decapitated some guy. He had to dive into the water, and basically like wanted to kill me. It's like I was like, okay, you want blood? Here's my wrist. And
I mean, the point I'm getting is like I'm living in Massachusetts. I'm not even living in Hawaii, but lots of people still have that sentiment here. Not lots of people, but people who are Native American. It's like, I don't know where we're supposed to go with that sentiment, because like there's nothing I can do about that. I don't have citizenship anywhere else in the world. What am I supposed to do? Get up and leave and go?
No, this is now America. How
Russian.
America got to be America is its history. It is what it is. I mean, America is America, and none of the states are going to be giving the land back to any Native American group of people.
I'm Russian, Irish, Swedish, Greek, and Estonian. I can't go. What are you going to do? Cut me up into 5 pieces? and send
Well,
a little bit to each country.
Well, there's nobody alive today that was around back then. I don't care what side you're on, whether you're Native American or not. It doesn't matter. Just because you're Native American doesn't mean that the country should be given back to people of the Navajo Indian tribes, or the Cherokees, or the Iroquois, or the Comanche. It doesn't matter. They're not. They were none of those folks that are alive were around back then. So guess what? It is just as much as mine as it is theirs.
Yeah, unless you're planning on overthrowing the
Reparations
country, unless you're planning on overthrowing the government.
To people like that is total BS and stupid. I mean, that is the dumbest thing in the world. You know.
Yeah, unless you're planning on overthrowing the government. I mean, the Kingdom of Hawaii hasn't existed since 1875. There's nobody, and even if they wanted to restore the Hawaiian Kingdom, okay, who's the king? And more importantly, I mean, I'm ready to overthrow Josh Green if he's ever the governor. but imagine if they appointed a person to be king of Hawaii. He's going to be like assassinated the first week, because Americans will just not take orders from a king or a queen. We already fought the Revolutionary War because we weren't going to take orders from King George. I mean, we as Americans aren't going to take orders from any self-proclaimed descendant of Queen Likiolani or anybody else. I mean, and that's the whole thing that's objectionable about a lot of these, like the Hawaiian Kingdom stuff. When they base, like, whether you can go, I don't know if they still do it, but like when they base whether you can go to a school based upon how much Native Hawaiian blood you have, like a DNA test, in order to get into. I'm trying to remember the name of the school. I know I should know it.
One of those private schools.
Kamehameha. Like, I think it's a Kamehameha school or something. But you can't get into that unless, at least it used to be that you can't get into it unless they did a blood test and you had 100. I mean, and there's like nobody with 100% native blood left anymore. I mean, almost nobody. I mean, there might be one or two people on this whole island with 100% pure Hawaiian blood, but it's just a cause celeb, and it's like massive virtue signaling of people that have no virtue for the most part. I'm not going to sit here and say that, hey, Native American tribes didn't get a raw deal. They did, and so did the Hawaiians. But I mean, I don't think the Hawaiians got such a terrible deal. I mean, the main thing that happened to the Hawaiian people is a lot of them died when the first European ships landed, because none of them had any immunity built up to the diseases that were carried by the Europeans that landed in the first place. So a lot of Hawaiians died off from just smallpox or measles and stuff like that. And that really sucked. But that wasn't because of anything that anybody intentionally did. That was just the way the world.
That's just what happened in the world at that time, you know. I mean,
yeah, that's how.
The same thing would happen today if somebody from another planet came and brought some weird, you know, alien disease.
Or in the War of the Worlds, where the aliens come try and immigrate to Earth and take it over, that the little disease gets them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
you know, common cold wipes out an entire alien civilization, you know, but we're immune to it.
So what I can only refer people to is the quote from the Supreme Court case of the famous Supreme Court case of the Cherokee Nation versus the state of Atlanta. On the Indian cases, which was Justice Marshall, who was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court in the 1800s. And the case was basically, first, it was that the Cherokee Nation sued the state of Atlanta because the state of Atlanta just basically had a lottery. They seized all the Indians' lands, their home, threw them off of their homes, and marched them down the Trail of Tears, and a lot of them died. And because the reason Atlanta did that is because they wanted to have a lottery and give away the land to all the white people in the city because they could win votes by doing that. So, and the state of Atlanta did that, and it was a pretty evil thing to do. And so the Cherokee Nation tried to sue, and they went all the way to the Supreme Court. And what Justice Marshall said was, "This is not the tribunal to redress the past or prevent the future." He was just there to interpret, like, Supreme Court law, the law of the land. He wasn't there to do the right thing. And what happened later was, and so they ruled against the Cherokee Nation, and the Cherokee Nation lost that case at the Supreme Court. But what happened after that is the state of Georgia went a little too far when there were some white protesters who were protesting this happening in Georgia with the Cherokee Indians. Then when the army came in and arrested the white people who were who had taken up the cause of the Cherokee people, basically the Supreme Court overturned the decision. He just said, decision reversed, basically, and because it was okay to screw over the Indians, but it wasn't okay to violate the white people's rights when they were protesting on behalf of the Indians. And because when they threw the white people off of I forget whether exactly the Cherokee like sold the land to the white people, some white people, so that the government couldn't just seize it. And so then they threw the white people off the land. And so that's when I think the case was just, okay, decision reversed. You can't do that to white people, but they could do it to Indians. So yeah, the history of the country, I mean, it's unfair. It's not nice. History is, like the world, is cruel. It's really, I mean, it's a savage world, and it's not fair at all. But two wrongs don't make a right. So you can't really fix that. And protesting telescopes has to be just the dumbest thing. I mean, I know they're not just protesting telescopes, but they are protesting a telescope. And they're protesting something that would really help the economy of local people. I mean, $1 billion is a lot of money on this island. Just injecting that into the economy would help everybody. And it would be like a reason that people would come here, having that advanced telescope here. And scientifically, it would be like it would just be like almost a wonder of the world. And it's just, some things are just scientifically it'd be a scientific marvel to have here, and it would draw people, and it would just be, there would be a lot of benefits to it, to the people. But that doesn't matter if somebody wants to virtue signal about Hawaiian sovereignty. I mean, people literally take this stuff, like they get Russia to support a case before the World Court in The Hague over the sovereignty of the Hawaiian Kingdom and the illegal occupation of America. I mean, sure, Russia would love to get the United States out of Hawaii so Russia could invade it. I mean, they'd land here.
No kidding. It's like, what do you think they're going to do?
I mean, if the United States wasn't running this place, it would have been taken over by Japan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. In a heartbeat.
So I'm not going to tell anybody that what happened to the Hawaiian people wasn't exactly fair. I mean, they had an election and they voted for it. They voted for statehood. The Hawaiian people voted for statehood. So the people that were opposed lost. that election. And like Obama said, elections have consequences. And I mean, I understand why the Americans who were here, they didn't want to have to be dictated to by a monarch. I think Americans just don't like, naturally, aren't going to want to take orders from a king or a queen. I mean, that's why we don't have a king or a queen.
Yeah, but I mean, also, I mean, but you can't change the past either. I mean, what's done is done. And there was, like, again, there's nobody alive today that was around then. So, I mean, is it your fault? I mean, should you be blamed? Should you be punished for all of this?
I didn't even, my family didn't immigrate to America until after World War II.
I understand, but I mean, still, but you were born here. You're in everything. It's like you were born in the 20th century. It's not your fault for something that people did in the 18th century or the 19th century. You know, not even they don't even exist anymore. You know, this stuff was done before. You know, stuff was done before your grandparents were thought of. You know, it's things like that. Why?
Yeah, I mean,
why do we even talk about it is ridiculous because people think they can bring it up and well, they got a leg to stand on. I'm like, no, you don't.
yeah, I mean, some things just have passed into history.
Yeah, and yeah, I understand. Yes, the Native Americans got a raw deal. I hear you. I understand that, but I wasn't around back then. It ain't my fault. You know.
Yeah, and two wrongs don't make it right. That's when a lot of things have been sold to people as justice, like with catchy names like affirmative action. It sounds like a good idea, affirmative action. It sounds good. It's discrimination is what it is. And I didn't even used to think so until I got hired by Ward Connolly for the Prop 209 campaign in California, just because they needed me to record and edit the radio spots for him. And Ward Connolly was a black guy who thought that racial discrimination was always wrong. That was it. It was that simple. And so he was against the Prop 209 was written to prevent racial quotas in education and set aside in contracting, public contracting, and housing. So you couldn't, like the university used to be able to, University of California or Los Angeles, California, the California university system used to be able to set racial quotas on how many people of what kind of a race would be admitted into the school. And they could you would check a box on what your race is, and then that was one consideration for whether or not you would be admitted into the school. And so Prop 209 changed all that. But people had been told that affirmative action was a good thing. It was reverse discrimination. So two wrongs don't make it right. And until I actually did the spots that they wrote, I was just like everybody else. I thought that, okay, they're trying to undo the civil rights stuff. And it's like, well, two wrongs don't make it right. So, and Ward Connolly was literally just a black man who thought discrimination was always wrong. Racial discrimination was always wrong. And I mean, I don't know. I guess the reason why that won is because I will say in part that my spots were really good, but I didn't write them. I just edited them together. And the radio spots were like one of the big things, and they were a little tricky, and they were a little confusing. Because if you're if you're a person that's against racial discrimination for whatever reason, then you would think you would support affirmative action. But affirmative action is racial discrimination, and that's what people have been brainwashed because of I mean, they came up with affirmative action for a reason. It sounds like a good thing. It doesn't say we're going to discriminate against all these people. We're not going to let them into schools. We're going to set quotas and set asides for contracting on public jobs. So if somebody wanted to build a bridge, or there were 100 bridges that needed to be built in California, then like a certain percentage of them had to be by Black-owned companies. So you had contractors who were literally just underwriting contracts for other companies, and because based on race, and that's a stupid way to do public contracting in the first place, and it's racial discrimination. So, I mean, what is wrong with a black guy who thinks that racial discrimination is wrong? I mean, that's natural, but it's just the way people have been brainwashed for so many years to think. It's just, that's why what I like, you know, from my panelists and people in general is that I run into in my life is like, I like people that can think for themselves. I don't need them to agree with me. I mean, if somebody disagrees with me about something, that's fine, as long as they're just not regurgitating talking points that have been regurgitated by somebody else and by another 1,000 people before them. But if they actually think about something, think things through, and reach a different conclusion than me, then, you know, then it helps me, because I either have to defend my position or reevaluate my position, and that's okay. But just regurgitating other people's position, and that's the whole thing about affirmative action. They came up with this talking point lie. It was because it sounds cool. What could be wrong with an affirmative action? Well, if you say what could be wrong with racial discrimination, that's something pretty much a lot of people in America would be against. But if you call it racial discrimination, affirmative action, then they'll be for it. So, I don't know. This is a prepping channel, but I don't know how I got onto this one. Somehow somebody asked about Hawaii.
Me? Well, I mean, there has been a lot of proof lately that affirmative action is really working against Asian families. I saw one piece on YouTube about it from John Stossel. I saw another piece that was talking about how it's like twice as hard as an Asian student to get into a private school in New York City, and that it said that it's because of their privilege. And it says that it even like quotes that some Asian families skip meals in order to send their kids to these private schools that are expensive, and that's part of their privilege. I was like, geez, I didn't know skipping a meal was privilege, so you could go to school.
Yeah, well, if you spend money for your kids for math tutors for them to be great at math, and they work at it and they're great at math, okay, that's not privilege. That's just hard work. That's raising your kids right. And if they want to limit, you know, so they were trying to, they want to limit how many Asian people can be admitted to a school.
Oh no, it already is extreme. So you have to, like, in Harvard, I forget what the numbers were, but you had to work a lot harder than any other race to get into Harvard. You have to be like the cream of the crop to get in there, where white people have it a lot easier. Black people have it even easier, and Latino people.
I don't know that anybody has it easy at Harvard. I mean, that's a tough school. That's not an easy school.
So what they did is apparently they have it in writing that they have like a personality test, and they have like the race thing, where apparently they said that like Asian people are boring. Harvard said that, and they don't have good character. You know, white people are close behind them being boring, where Black and Latino people have very good character, and they're very interesting people who are well cultured. So therefore, we can't let as many Asians in. So apparently that's in writing somewhere. So some guy who's a Harvard alumni, is suing Harvard for that.
Yes, well, I can tell you that there's a lot of screwed up sociology professors in every higher. There's a lot of entitled and tenured professors that are just left-wing nut jobs in every higher educational university across the country, and you're not going to fix that overnight. In any way that I can see, but it's. I'll just say that, like, it's not easy. Even Harvard is a tough school. You will learn if you pass your classes, you will learn shit in those classes. I mean, when I went to UCLA, the most thing. I mean, it was a tough school. The thing I had to do all the time was read books. I would get there, I would go to the library, and I would read the whole, because the assigned stuff that I had to read was like a stack of books a mile high. So if I didn't read all the time, if I literally didn't spend all my time that I wasn't driving to or from UCLA reading, I would have never passed one class. I mean, you have to read a lot. So naturally, I still like reading books.
The point's just about getting in. So they're not taking. So because of affirmative action, they are not, and also whatever their personality test is that's negative against Asian people.
The personality test.
So those two things are making it hard for. So it's supposed. So that whole test is set up, and everything is set up to stop white people from coming in at a higher rate, and it's supposed to make it more diverse. But what happened is Asian people are outshining every other race. They're working harder than every other race, apparently, at getting better grades. So what that's done is it's screwed the whole system up. So
well,
now,
I think what the interesting thing with the whole thing about immigration, the reason why immigrants of any race do better in America than people that have been here for a long time is because their families know how shitty the world outside of the United States of America is, and what a great place America is, and how important it is that they succeed.
Yeah, but that's not the point I'm making. But I mean, I get what you're saying. It's just what I'm saying is that the affirmative action has backfired on itself, and they don't want to admit it, and they just keep digging themselves a deeper hole and discriminating more against people who shouldn't be discriminated. Or
nobody should be discriminated
be discriminated against. So
that's what Ward Connolly was saying, who ran the Prop 209, and he was brought on to. He was demonized by the left, but he won the election because basically his message was racial discrimination is wrong, and we had slick ads, and so people didn't know that they were voting. Our ads were constructed so that people didn't know they were voting against affirmative action when they were voting for Prop 209, but people didn't know that they were voting for racial discrimination when they were in favor of affirmative action. So anyway, we had a party in my studio, and they hired out my studio for a day and paid my rate, and we recorded some victory messages or something, and because they just were happy that they won the election. I sent the guy who wrote the ads, Arnold Steinberg, basically a fax saying there is no substitute for victory on the day of the election when they won that. And so it was an interesting lesson that I would have never learned if I didn't have my own business and get hired just as an audio guy by those people who happen to need my services. But so, and I can tell you, as far as discriminating against anybody, it's just stupid. I tell you, in my business, I mean, I had people. I mean, I used to. My main bread and butter job was dubbing movies into different languages. So guess what? I needed to work with people from all over the world, with all different kinds of political views, with gay people, straight people, black people, white people. It didn't matter. All I cared about was if they could get dub their loops right the first time. I mean, that's all I cared about. I mean, and guess what? You dub films. Some of the characters are straight. Some of them are gay. Some of they're all, and so you need all kinds of people to dub a film, and to run a business. You need all kinds of people. I didn't care. I mean, I was only pushing a record button and getting paid for it. So why would I? How would it benefit? How could it possibly benefit me to discriminate against anybody? I mean, it's just discrimination is stupid. It doesn't work, but it's naturally, because it's stupid and doesn't work. Naturally, the government thinks it's a good idea. I mean, and codifies stupid things into law. That's what government does. I mean, and over time, over the 200 and how many years has this nation been here, they've codified a lot of stupid laws onto the books. And pretty much, it's impossible to walk out your front door without violating some law on the books. But I mean, stupid ones like government enforced racial discrimination. Giving it a moniker that sounds cool, like affirmative action. Yeah. It's like buy one, get one free. It's like a logo. But so what I hate though is I mean, it's like if you go to a concert or something like and some music group, and somebody will invariably make a statement like, you know, all these people come from here in Hawaii and we don't need them, and they should just get the fuck out. It's like, well, the people they're talking about is me. I've been living here for 20 years, but I came from LA, so that's where I was born. But if they're saying I don't have a right to be here, I'm like, well, this is the United States of America, and if you doubt it, just try and tell the IRS that you don't have to pay taxes and see what happens. and they will come after you. And people fear the IRS more than anything else. But it's, you know, I can't, there's a lot of unfairness in the world, and there's a lot of unfairness on this, in this state. And my attitude is to try and be, like, my attitude towards people on this island is, this is an island, we all have to help each other. But that's not what people do, unfortunately. They try and get somewhere. I don't know if it was Mark Twain that said it, but people gain power by stepping on other people. I don't know if it was the Ferengi rules of acquisition that employees are the key to success. Never miss an opportunity to step on them. You know, so it's like climbing the ladder of success. You have to step on a lot of people to get to the top. Well, that's kind of a lot of, you know, so how the world works. It's not how I like to be. I like to help people if possible, but I'm going to pull in a line from the Magnificent Seven, Eli Wallach's line. No good deed goes unpunished. So, I mean, so if you try and be nice all the time, you'll just get stepped on and screwed over. If you don't try and be nice, I mean, well, you might have a difficult time looking in the mirror sometimes. But, I wanted to talk about my original topic, which was shit hits the fan priorities, which is what I started the chat with. We got sidetracked by the telescope protests. But I would say that if the shit hit the fan, yeah, if the power goes out, then I got to find some place that's where I can live, and this ain't it. Because no air conditioning. So there's a lot of ways I could deal with that, none of which I'm going to talk about on air. But I would say it's the more basically than that. It's really the basic stuff is the most underrated. Water purification and food security. And basic sanitation. And it's not glamorous. It's not as fun as getting a new rifle, getting all tactical. But if you have a mutual assistance group or something like that, and you have a bunch of people working together to try and survive, the most important person is the person who does all the basic stuff. So while everybody else is out hunting or gathering or foraging or doing or guarding the property or all that the basic stuff about just sanitation, water purification, and having some kind of food, even if it's just like the most basic collection of edible green things that grow. Like if you could find a can of raisins and grass and make it into a salad with dressing. Well, if they don't get anything and they come back hunting, they're going to need something to give them carbs for the next day so they can go out until they're successful, right? So it's not the fun thing that it's just, and there isn't one cell in the human body, not one cell in the human body that doesn't need water. So I could go on about water purification forever, but I won't. I'll just say that there's not one cell in the human body that doesn't need water. Not one. So it's just the basic stuff that is the most important. So that's the way I look at it. I mean, doing ammo runs and buying guns is hellacious fun. And we had our money shot with the Glock 5 Gen 5, Glock 17 Gen 5, and the red dot, the medium, the moderately, not the most expensive red dot. I'd say get a better red dot. Well, my opinion, that one. But I just need parallax free to use a red dot. Otherwise, I'm just not happy. And I don't know if there are any parallax free handgun ones. So because I just haven't looked into that. I like the Mikey Hartman one for my I had the version 1 MSC AQC from Mikey Hartman's company, but those aren't available anymore. So they have the Gen 2, I think that's available, but I really need parallax free or I don't want one. I'd rather use iron sights.
I mean, the more you spend, the better you're going to be. If you buy that, that new Aimpoint Acro, it's parallax free, but it's also like $1,000, I think.
Yeah, you get what you pay for. There's some manufacturing tricks they use to make it parallax free that aren't cheap. So sometimes you get what you pay for, and sometimes you don't. But if you could find when it comes to red dots, to me that's important. So yeah, I mean, like a rifle is. I would say, like, if you're going to have, I don't know about handguns, but if you're going to have a rifle, your optic is like a really critical part, and just as critical if you're using a scope is your mounts. Having crappy mounts just is like, and a good optic is like defeat almost. It's just maddening. It's maddening. So it's like, places to go try and save money and cut corners, not on mounts for your optics or optics. But agree, disagree?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I can use a lot of cheap stuff. The problem is some of the cheaper stuff, if you leave them at one spot, they'll stay at that one spot. A lot of them will, but then if you try to do like a holdover and come up and then go back down, then it's not gonna work out for you. But yeah, I mean, I've toyed with a lot of cheap stuff. Like I got a Walmart $80 scope that came with the mounts, and I used a Gunbroker $300 7.62 by 39 upper with a cheap ASC mag, and I was shooting, I believe it was like 1 or 1.1 MOA, like $80 scope, $300 upper, 7.62 39 Wolf ammo, and I was putting down an amazing group. So sometimes you can pull off with the cheap stuff. It's obviously not going to be as durable and not going to be as reliable. If I were to go up 12 or 13 MOA or whatever to try to get to 600, if I try to come back down, it probably isn't going to be right. So,
Well, when basically my Tavor is set up for with the red dot for close quarters. If I need to shoot something at distance, I'll use my hunting rifle, and I'll just need to get the damn holdover, the range for the holdover right, because 7.62 by 39 drops like a pig over distance. But so it depends how many hundreds of yards I have to. I mean, it'll shoot straight, but I have to get the holdover right to hit my target, and it drops. It's a heavy bullet, so it drops.
I've seen people make shots at 1,000 yards with iron-sighted AKs. It's not something I can do, but it can be done.
Yeah, I don't think that's what the AK was designed for. It was, but it'll shoot straight. It's just a question of if you're shooting at range like that. I mean, a lot of it also depends on how tired you are. I mean, if you're tired, if you've been shooting all day and you start to get tired, and then you try and pull off a 1,000-yard shot. I mean, your iron sight's going to be dancing around because you're just not going to be steady. At least that's how it is with me. I shoot better when I'm fresh than if I've been shooting all day and then I have to pull off a distance shot with an iron sight. It'll just be like dancing all over the target. I'll see the target dancing. I'll be looking at, why doesn't the target stay in one place? I'm pretty good with my AK. I like shooting it, and that's my iron sights gun. If I had to pick
Did you get your hunting thing printed out?
I never bothered because I don't want to pay them their $20. I'm just so pissed at the hunting codes. I mean, that the hunting codes just are so onerous.
How long has it been since you've been to the range?
Over a year, man. It sucks. And I want to go. It's like been over a year, man. And it's just, I know. I ought to just print it up and go. But it's like, I do have other things in life that I'm working on right now than just going. I've been to the range quite a bit. It's just not lately. Since they passed their hunting regs. Well, not quite. I've been to the range a few times because I had the hunting. But I don't want to fund their stupid laws. And I mean, I haven't bought a gun since they passed their Rat Back list laws. And I did a show on the Young versus Hawaii case that Hawaii Firearms Coalition is pursuing in court. And basically they sued the FBI to make them hopefully they can get that repealed because or overturned because it's not the FBI apparently has not processed one of the Rat Back because they're not allowed to do it by law. It would be a violation of the 1986 Federal Firearms Owners Protection Act. So they haven't processed, but the state is demanding that everybody who wants to buy a gun signs a waiver agreeing to be put on a Rat Back list, and they're collecting a tax that you have to pay in order to get a permit. And if you apply for the permit and you don't want to pay the tax and you don't sign the waiver, they will disqualify you from owning not just the gun you want to buy, but they'll disqualify you from owning any firearms at all. And so you'll have to turn in all your guns that you've already bought because you don't want to be on this Rat Back list. But nobody has actually, it's a poll tax. They're collecting a tax for you to exercise your constitutional right under false pretenses because nobody has actually been put on a rat back list because the FBI won't do it. So I'm not going to sign their waiver. And my attitude has been, if the chief of police needs me to pay $42 to be put on this list, I mean, if he wants me to pay $42, he's going to have to show up at my local gun shop, turn around, bend over, and kiss his own ass, because I'm not going to give him $42 to be put on an illegal list, and that the FBI apparently won't even process. That they haven't processed. Of all the people who've bought a gun in the last 2 years, not one person has been put on the rat back list, but they've all had to sign a waiver agreeing to be put on this list. So I wasn't going to sign the waiver. I wasn't going to pay him the $42, and I don't want to pay the state. I don't want to pay the DLNR $20 for the hunting license, even though I took the course and I've had a hunting license before, and I still have the expired one. But because I don't want to pay them money, because their hunting laws, you know, are just like, you can get your firearm seized if you have a full metal jacket round on you, even if you don't use it. You're only allowed to use soft points. You can't use full metal jacket because full metal jacket sounds bad. And so no full metal jackets are allowed on hunting lands. No pistols, unless you have, unless it's a hunting caliber pistol with a certain pound per, I forget what the standard is, pound per foot force, or I don't know, but basically you need a 44 Magnum to take a pistol hunting on a hunting. So I can't take a 9mm, a 45 cal ACP. I can't take my 357 snubby. If I think if my 357, you can take a 357 if it has a 7-inch or longer barrel, and mine's a snubby, so I can't take that one out. I mean, I can't take any of my pistols legally. I mean, people do take them, but if the DLNR catches you, then they can seize all your guns. And the penalty for doing anything wrong is the DLNR seizes your guns. I mean, if you aren't wearing an orange hunting vest, a blaze orange, then the DLNR seizes all your guns. I mean, if you like spit in the wrong place, the DLNR, I mean, the hunting laws are just ridiculous. And I mean, you know, there was like a DLNR agent that was renting a place in my condominium unit because I saw his DLNR truck, and I just wanted to set it on fire and blow it up. You know, I don't like the DLNR, and I don't particularly want to give them my $20. So yeah, I haven't been shooting in a while. And if I don't know if some people in gun shells might say, "Well, you haven't been shooting in so long, you're not a gun person." It's like, you know what? Fuck you. You don't live here. I have to make my own decisions. And yeah, I'll probably pay their $20 ransom money and sign my hunting thing that you know, just for the right to do that on state land. But and just shoot my long guns on state land. But I mean, even if I did that, I wouldn't be able to take my pistols out and shoot them. And you know, whether I go shooting with my long guns, I'm still hell on wheels with the long gun. I mean, I've had enough long gun experience shooting in my life that it's like I always hit what I aim at. So. With long guns. Pistols, I'm not that great. I need lots of practice with pistols, but I can't do that here. I can't do that on this island because we've got no indoor range. We've got no outdoor range. All we have is hunting areas.
You're gonna have to short barrel rifle that Glock, and then get it.
Oh well, you know, that's the whole thing. It's like, yeah, I'd love to get that that thing and not tell anybody, but it's like, yeah, the what's that? It's legally, they could say it's constructive possession, even if you don't put the Glock in, to have that short barrel rifle version of the Roni. Yeah, I'd love to get a Roni, man. That
no, I
awesome.
just meant like you get the stock for the Glock and then SBR at first, and then buy one of those Glock stocks that has the cheek riser on it, and then just
well, look, I can get a Roni. It's
yeah,
just,
but then it's no longer a handgun. You now have a short barrel. I mean, with the Roni, I guess too. But
yeah, it's a short barrel. Well, yeah, it's like you need to get all kinds of federal permits. But it's just, again, this is just more Second Amendment infringements, and it's like the only way.
It's easier for me because I wouldn't be a gun owner at all right now if I refused to play their game, because I didn't have guns before 1998. So,
Oh, I did, but
well, like the point is like, yeah. So I mean, I see what you're saying, but for me, it's an easier thing to overlook because pretty much all of the laws have been the same. Not all of them, but for the most part, since 1998, that was when all the biggest laws came through, and more recently, everything being online. So for me, like, it's easier for me to be like, oh, I'll play their game. Because I'm technically on their list at the Massachusetts Firearms Records Bureau. That's an illegal list. Supposedly, there's no list, but I bought a stolen slide off of eBay. I didn't know it was stolen. So an ATF guy came knocking and wanted to know where it went. And I told him, oh, yeah, I put it on, this pistol and sold it to a guy. And he had looked up the information and printed out who I sold it to. So.
well, so somebody from the government had to come and knock on your door because of a slide?
Yeah, because the eBay slide was the seller got charged with stealing firearms or something.
Oh.
So the slide was a stolen slide. So
he got a hot slide.
Well, I told him, oh, yeah, I mean, I didn't know what the hell he was calling for. The guy made it sound like he was going to come over here and lock me up when he left a message on my phone. So he pretty much was like, yeah, I need that bodyguard slide. It's stolen property. I'm like, well, it's on a gun right now that I sold. I don't know who the hell the guy was. And he found out who it was through the computer, which is not supposed to be legal.
Well, what was really funny was, what was it when people were worried that that one day the state could every county, every island its own county, and so basically the government could local government could print up a list of all the gun owners from the gun registry and send the police out to confiscate all the guns, right? So people are worried about that, and so it turned out that in the county that I live in, the computer system is so old that they don't know they can't make it print.
Oh, it's a dot matrix printer, probably.
They literally don't know how to make it print. They can't print anything from the firearms registration computer system.
Yeah, it's probably like an old IBM PS1 with a dot matrix printer.
They can look things up, but they can't make it print anything. There's no way they could print up a list because their computer doesn't work. So they were complaining about that. They found that out because people were complaining. It's like that about, I forgot what they were complaining. Some kind of gun control thing that they wanted to enact. I can't even remember what it was. It was so long ago, but they were complaining. It's like, there's no way to print up. So that was like so funny. They can't do gun control or gun confiscation because their computer system, there's no way to print the list. People that own the gun. So why register a gun at all if you can't even like hit the print button and print who owns the gun, who owns guns or something. So why are we registering our guns at all? I mean, it's just when you have a government that's so incompetent, they can't even hit a print button and print. I mean, look who's talking. I don't, my printer doesn't work either, but I'm not responsible for like the firearms registry. So
yeah, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go to bed. It's 1:30 in the morning.
Thanks for coming on, Jared. I appreciate you sharing your Glock 17 Gen 5. And you think you're gonna get a new red dot for it? Or are you gonna keep the one you have?
Oh, I'm gonna keep the Hollow Sun on here.
Okay.
I'll roll with it. I would like to have the RMR, but it's not gonna happen. So we're gonna go cheapy.
Money counts. Well, just let me know. I'm gonna try and get StreamYard up so we can keep these, Monday shows going, even if they're not shows. Just I'd like to find out what happens with your how your classes go, if it's working for you or not.
Yeah, I mean, I already took one class with it, and it was great. It was just a breeze. So,
Well, I'm sure over time you'll let us know how it's working.
yeah, thank you. Awesome. Have a good night,
All right.
Patrick. See you,
All right.
see you, HVS. Night,
Good night,
Squib.
guys.
Oh, I'm just
Good night,
leaving.
David. I'm thinking. Oh, all right.
All
I'm
right.
so tired. I'm thinking maybe we should.
We, you never got to answer any questions or had to talk at all, Squib. You get deferring.
Maybe I might have been sleeping. I don't know.
All right, I wasn't going to ask you anything tough. All right.
Later, Rupan.
See ya.
So yeah, the show is great, you know. So if any law enforcement people in Hawaii are monitoring, I got law enforcement on my show. Okay, so give me a fucking break. All right, there you go. That's all I have to say about that. All right, so I'll just ask you if you want to answer it. You don't have to. Shit hits the fan priorities, other than get to Dusty's farm. What are your priorities? Shit hits the fan.
Well, if it's cold, staying warm. Other than that, I guess security is probably the top priority because you can have all the food and water and all that other stuff. You can't defend it. You know.
That's very true.
And sanitation always gets put to the back, no matter what. So
I just want to ask you about that. When you visited Dusty's house, did his bathrooms have toilet paper roll, holders, or were there some kind of corn cob dispensing machine?
I use the woods, so I.
Okay. You didn't use the bathroom at Dusty's place? Okay. That seems strange. What's that?
Said I might track in some dirt, so I stayed outdoors like a good dog.
All right. Gonna find yourself a horse? Or two.
Well, I'll have a horse. My wife will be on a
Of course.
donkey, so yeah. So
There are actually, I have seen donkeys crossing the highway on here, and I mean, in the expensive part of town. I mean, across from beaches and stuff. They call them night.
I'll make sure she's got a red dress and a little red umbrella to go with it.
Two mules for Jimmy, or sister. 2 mules for sister. I don't know your wife's name, Laura.
She goes by "Don't call me Mrs. Squibload."
Don't call me Mrs. Squibload. Okay. Right. Now, what was I talking about? I don't remember. Okay. So, what do you think about since you're talking, what do you think about the whole thing about the British oil tanker getting hijacked by the Iranians, and UK is going to have a new prime minister on Wednesday, and the current defense minister said the British Navy doesn't have enough ships to solve all of these problems. So obviously, guess who's going to get called on to get their tanker back?
That's why you don't downsize your military.
Yeah, I think the British sent 1 destroyer in, and I think if they want their tanker back, they're going to need more than 1 destroyer. There was, if you believe the Zero Hedge, which is Russian propaganda, they're saying there's a buildup in Saudi Arabia at the Prince Sultan Air Base, there's a buildup there before every war. So military action might be possible. I just don't think there is going to be a ground invasion of Iran, because it's not something that Donald Trump would really support or or I don't think it would make a lot of sense. But they have to blow up some shit. I don't know how they're going to get rid of their nuclear uranium processing sites without some boots on the ground. I mean, I don't think just airstrikes will do it, because I don't think we're going to, if you don't have the ability to actually go in and make sure everything gets destroyed, because we don't know where everything is. The uranium enrichment, storage, and the facilities could be spread out and dispersed over large areas and well hidden. So, but as far as just a massive on the ground, conquering, invading the whole country, I don't think that'll happen. But there's possibility for military conflict. Seems to be ramping up. I don't think it's really in anybody's interest, but that doesn't mean it won't happen. I don't think it will affect anybody who's not in the military if if war breaks out in the Gulf. I mean, if you're in the military, it'll affect you. If you have family that's in the military, it'll affect you. But for regular civilians, I don't know that there's going to be much of an effect at all. I mean, gas prices might go up a little. I don't think there's anything to be particularly panicked or fearful about right now. But hey, if you're a prepper, you should never be panicked or fearful. Because you should be pretty much ready for your garden variety type of let's see, how do I put this? Economic or social or disturbance. I don't think the United States doesn't rely on oil out of the Gulf, but some of our customers do. So people that buy U.S. products do. So they buy our stuff. So if we can't sell it to them because they need oil, so it's like somehow the United States' job to patrol that little piece of waterway and keep the world economy working. Not necessarily our economy, but it's just not. I think it's a relatively small military problem because Iran doesn't have that much of a military capability compared to the United States, and hopefully they don't get nukes, because nukes can be a problem for nukes. One nuke can ruin your whole day, but they don't have any. So, and their military capacity just doesn't seem to be anywhere near where the United States military capabilities are. But all right, I think I covered most of the stuff that I wanted to talk about. I'm gonna look at my list really quick. Oh, yeah, I forgot I mentioned this one. Of all I watched the Naked and Afraid stuff and Alone, and one thing I learned, to condense it all in case you don't watch reality shows. One thing, the interesting factoids. I mean, I like to watch those shows because you can pick up cool little survival tips and practical tips. One of them was ants will not cross a barrier of ashes. So whether you soda ash or ashes from a wood fire, basically in one of the shows, they were like had camped under a rock ledge, and they were lying on the ground. Everything was fine. It was night. They had the campfire going, and then it started raining. And the rain was like soaking the forest. So this massive swarm of ants wanted to get out of the rain, so it started heading for the camp because it was dry ground under the ledge. So they're like, we're being attacked by, of the swarm of ants. I mean, if you're laying on the ground, having like a swarm of ants coming towards your camp is not a good thing. So they had been there for a few days, so they had ashes from their campfire, so they surrounded their camp with ashes. And the reason why is because ants have if you could say their feet, but the bottom of their legs have glands that excrete a mucus material, and that is required for them to transmit pheromones, and that's how ants communicate, is with pheromones. And so if they go on ash, that mucus material dries up and they can't communicate. So basically, if an ant like sees food, it'll put out one kind of pheromone. So all the other ants knows, okay, there's food here, because they smell that pheromone. And without that mucus material on the bottom of their legs, they can't organize. They can't communicate at all. It's like their internet goes out, and they're just a bunch of ants that they're not like, they aren't acting as a like community of any kind. They can't communicate. So they don't like to go on ash. So if you build an ash barrier around your camp, they just won't go there. And even if they're drowning in the forest rain. So it worked. So if you ever have an ant problem, take the ashes from your fire, put it around your camp, you won't have an ant problem. And we have fire ants in Hawaii, so that's kind of a good thing to know, I think. So you pick up little things, and obviously they've been having a lot of Shark Week stuff. I don't know if Shark Week starts next Sunday, but man, they had some, I was watching one of the Nat Geo Wild shows, and it wasn't the survival show, but it was off the coast of Hawaii. There was, they found 3 huge great white sharks. And one of them was this girl was like 8 miles off the coast of Oahu. So, and there was there was a whale carcass floating out there, and there was a great white shark feeding off of this whale carcass. And they had some amazing footage because she went in the water. And this was an 18-foot great white female shark. And that's a big ass shark. But this is a shark that nobody had ever seen before, because sharks that big, they usually have, there's like a record of them. They take photographs and they get spread around the shark community, the scientific community, marine people that study marine biology and stuff. And so nobody had seen the shark, so she got to name it. And so she named the shark Howley Girl. Because I don't know if great white sharks are white sharks racist or something. I don't know. But so the footage was amazing. She's swimming. The shark didn't seem to be interested in the person at all. And she was swimming with the shark. And this huge shark. And the shark had been eating the whale carcass. And so it came over to her boat, which was this was like 2 air-filled pontoons, and the cross-section was the boat. It had a motor, and obviously she was 8 miles offshore, but the shark nosed one of the pontoons, and then it decided to take a bite out of it. Maybe it must have felt a little like the whale carcass, so it took a bite out of one of her pontoons, and then so, half of her boat was basically, in the water, and it's like, so she had to call in for somebody to come out. So she called up a friend. I guess she had a satellite phone or something, or on the radio hey, can you come out? You got a really cool shark out here. You might want to check it out. Besides, my boat is sinking. So her friend came out, and but there was amazing footage. But there were 3 different sharks that are about the same size that they had footage of in the show. One was called Deep Blue, which was about, a 19-foot shark, great white. And these things are big. And but I mean, Hawaii is not famous for its great white sharks. So I guess sharks are making a comeback. But and this was 8 miles offshore, and so I don't know, being stuck 8 miles offshore with a sinking boat sounds like a movie we've all heard of. But this shark seemed to be relatively friendly. I think the shark Howley girl had never seen a human before, because the shark seemed to be more inquisitive about the human, and didn't think of it as a food source. The boat pontoons seemed to feel like the whale carcass or something when it nosed up against it, so it took a bite out of that. But it was just more inquisitive about the humans. So I mean, if it wanted to go after her, she was only a few feet away from this huge shark, and it's like, I don't know, that would scare the ever living shit out of me. But I don't know, if you're used to sharks, I guess maybe not. I mean, it looked like it weighed a ton. It was huge. And so there's the other one, I forgot it was the name. There's a first one, I tuned in late to the show. I think it was Kalani or something like that. But the one that I remember seeing in the show, which Shark Week is coming up, so was Deep Blue and Howley Girl Shark. But incredible footage of a shark, like and this girl being that close to a shark as she was. I mean, it was just, and swimming with it, that was amazing. Yeah, so and I think in the last the season finale of Naked and Afraid, they have to go, speaking of sharks, they had to go out to be off of the tropical island in the Philippines, of Palawan, I think, to be for a sea extractions. They had to build a raft and go out into like off of swim from one island to another, just offshore. And so it was like about a 3-mile open ocean swim with basically you're in the water pushing a raft. Like there were 8 people or something, or 9 people. So like one person could sit on the raft and try and steer, and everybody else had to paddle and push. But the thing that happened was when they're getting this big ass raft into the ocean, they had an accident and one of the girls cut her foot. It was like, great. You're going into a shark infested water, and the first thing you do before you even get the boat into the water, the raft to the water, is you start bleeding. That's just. So they did actually attract a shark, but it wasn't like an 18-foot one, and it didn't attack them. And when the boat showed up, it was like they had military guys on it. There was a .50 caliber mounted on it, so they could blow away any sharks that were a problem. But if you're going to go into the ocean, try not to get yourself cut. I mean, going in there bleeding, if you know there's sharks around, is a bad idea. Because I mean, sharks have been in the ocean for millions of years, and while humans were just, before they had invented the wheel or learned how to make fire, there were sharks in the ocean. So it's the wilderness when you set foot into the water. It's not civilized in the ocean. And so on that note, I think I'll close this. I mean, hey, Steve, have you been seeing Digibyte take? I mean, it's been going down and down and down. It's like, I'm not buying any more of that stuff. I don't care how cheap it is until it shows some sign of, being alive. So, it's like I don't have to maneuver my cryptos around or my gold or silver, but I've got about the right proportion of everything, more or less. So I think I'm pretty happy. Yeah, I get paid out a little dash every day from my mining accounts, and not worried about whatever regulation they do, because I didn't buy any off of an exchange. I just have mining contracts in Iceland, so. I don't know what to say for Batman. It's just, I mean, I'm glad I have some cryptos, but I don't obsess about it. I'm glad I have gold and silver. I just feel like I've got, enough of everything. And I mean, I guess you could say never enough, especially when it comes to gold and silver. But, you know, I don't feel like the current situation in the world is motivating me to panic by anything at this point. I'm just, I think one thing you should prioritize if the shit hits the fan is to still, above everything else, enjoy life and appreciate being alive. And it's not, oh, I check it every day. Somebody described to me somebody asked me to describe, like, about a year or two ago, like, you know, what's being retired like? I don't know, if maybe it was Squib. And I said, well, let me describe my day for you. The day that I had, like, I think it was, you know, the weekend, the day before, or whatever, he had asked me the particular question. So I wake up, I make a cup of Kona coffee. I think I grab, like, you know, one blood pressure pill or whatever, and maybe a cinnamon tablet, and I go plop down in front of the computer. I check my cryptos and drink my coffee. You know, see whether they went up or down, or if anything, how much the mining payout was for that day. Then I finish my coffee and I go to the pool area and I sit in the hot tub for a while, swim a few laps in the pool, and drip dry in the sun. Then I went back to my condo, and after I dried off, and I decided to make to get a legal pad and a pencil or pen, and make a tally of all my gold and silver so I can know exactly what I had. So I took all my gold and silver coins and bullion and dumped it on the kitchen table and kind of organized it, and I made a list. And then that was my day. Yeah, I think I had a beer after that. That was my day, you know. So I'm busy working hard or doing nothing all day. So if the shit hits the fan, don't forget you're still alive. Hopefully the sun is shining and you can go outside and appreciate, you know, being alive, and, you know, being with your loved ones if you have some, and whoever they are, and just don't forget to stop and smell the roses. I mean, appreciate being alive, because it beats the alternative. All right, and trying to stay that way, at least until next week. I don't know how the show is going to be next week. I think we're going to try StreamYard and see how it works. I don't know if you're going to be able to type in the externals or anything like that. Okay, Squib, you have my permission to go to bed. Thank you for coming on, everybody, and tuning into the Lock and Load show. This has been fun to do. I don't know if I don't think live streams are going away. I think Hangouts are going away, so I can't invite my friends. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to try StreamYard next week, and everybody be safe and appreciate being alive. Yeah, as soon as I figure it out, I'll make a video about it. Because we tried StreamYard. Dusty did a StreamYard just as a test, and it seemed okay. No avatars, and my camera doesn't work with Windows, so I might get to use my actual good microphone instead of my laptop mic. But we'll see how it goes. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. God bless, and we'll see you next week, or not, but something will happen next week. All right, take it easy, y'all. Good night.